What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another Thursday edition of 30NSG. I'm your host, Mike, on 30NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Destiny Rising, new heroes, PvP, story missions, strikes with minimal Bungie involvement, sources claim, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the exclusive new details on the Battlefield game that we didn't talk about the other day, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to watch a video by was it Acras Gaming for Crimson Desert, the next big RPG game, so we'll talk about that as well. And then also we have a flight simulator that just popped up about an hour ago, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, the first preview, so we're going to check that out as well. And as Dolphin says in chat, Dragon Age preview embargo lifts at 11, so maybe we'll watch that or watch something later in the show. If you guys like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations, I read the articles or watch the videos, give you my thoughts and opinions on those things. I do not read these things ahead of time or watch them ahead of time. I watch them with you for the first time, and we have back and forth with chat. It's not a debate, it's conversation. The conversation of things that we love. We love playing video games. I also like to bring up that the fact that video game companies do not love you. They want your money, so I kind of put it out there like, look, you love what you love, but be aware that these companies are going to give you products that are not complete. They're broke, buggy, unfinished, and yet you fall for it every single time. So I'm just trying to make people aware. Do what you want with your money, but that's what I do. I just try to inform people of these things are not going to work when it comes out, or potentially don't buy day one, don't pre-order type of stuff. What's going on, Roadkill? What's going on, Eclipse? What's going on, Travis? Magic Dolphin, Stealth, Jason, what's going on? Chris, good morning. Worlds, good morning. Jojo, good morning. Good afternoon, I guess. It's afternoon for you. Gaming Fire. Go on, Crowded. We also had an article I saw about Hi-Fi Rush 2. I thought it was funny, so we'll talk about maybe that if we have time. But let's start off. Let's start off. Let's start off by hitting that like button. If you like what I do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, you become a member as little as $5. Brad says, Mike, you hurt my feelings. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't care. I was supposed to care? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't care. Oh, wait a minute. It came out wrong again. I don't care. I just can't. I can't say it. I can't say it. What's going on, Jack? What's going on, Argus? Good morning. Oh, that's what I wanted to. You said in the beginning, who was it? Eclipse. Eclipse said, before we talked about Destiny, Eclipse said they just showed the full roster of Dragon Ball's Sparkling Zero with the 20 added characters from the season pass. It comes to over 200 characters. Cannot wait for this game. I'm not a Dragon Ball fan, but I want to ask a question. For those of you that are Dragon Ball fans, does that sound amazing? It probably sounds amazing, right? 200 characters. What is the difference that I've been saying about DC games and Marvel games and these fighting games they bring out with multiverses and Marvel Rivals? I'm like, they need to bring out at least minimum 40 characters for Marvel Rivals. And some people are like, that sounds like too many. Nah, they're going to stretch it out. It's like, you as a Dragon Ball fan want as many heroes to play as possible because you love Dragon Ball Z, right? Like, that's what I want for Marvel games. That's what I want from DC games. That's what I want from my Transformers games. I want to play as many fucking characters as possible. That sounds amazing, but it doesn't sound amazing to me because I'm not a Dragon Ball guy, right? I have no attachment to Dragon Ball. It was just after I was too old. Didn't watch it, didn't care, right? It's nothing against Dragon Ball Z fans or anything. It's just not for me, right? And I'm jealous reading that. 200 characters. Like, God damn, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. No, 200 is amazing, and Marvel did that in a fighting. It would be amazing, right, Travis? I'm saying that's all I want. Like all we want as a Marvel fan or a DC fan or whatever IP, if they come up with a fighting game, an RPG game, whatever it is, we want to play as many characters or fight as many villains as possible, right? That sounds amazing. I prefer 20 unique than 200 copy pasta personally. Look, if you're a fan, if you're a person, let's say there's 20 characters like you're saying, Krebsy, and for every 5 there's one copy, right? So 20 here, so 20 here, there's 2 of them that are the same, right? So there's 20 different characters, but to make 100 there's 5 of the same characters in each grouping. Okay? If I'm a person that likes one character, I don't know the names of the Dragon Ball Z characters, so I'm not going to even pretend. But if I like this character and someone likes this character and these guys are both the same, who cares? If I like this character, it's going to bring me into the game to play that game because they have my character. And if this is your character and he's got the same abilities as this character, that character brought you into the game because that's your favorite character. That is my point with Marvel and DC. You're allowed to have samey characters, but the more characters you have, the more bosses or more bad guys you get to face, it brings in more people. You would make more sales because they're like, oh my God, you guys have some sporadic character that you never heard of before. And you're like, that's my favorite character. Oh, I'm totally going to get this game. Travis says, as a Marvel fan, I want that as well. Just give us the fighters. All we want is Marvel. That's right. There's so many different characters. Give it to them. Jack says it gets you jealous. Yeah, it's not really jealous. I mean, that's fantastic, right? Like, I'm more pissed than jealous. Like, come on, Marvel, what are you doing? Just like you broadly 30 always says, a safe bet. I did not watch Agatha. Why would I watch Agatha? I will watch other people review Agatha, but I will not watch Agatha. I love to play the obscure Transformer and reactivate. Make me feel more. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right, Jack? Like, if you liked Beachcomber, okay, and Beachcomber was your favorite character growing up in Transformers, and all of a sudden they have Beachcomber in the game, you're like, oh my God, they have Beachcomber? You would come and play the game. And if Beachcomber is the same as Bumblebee, okay, you'd be like, oh, they're the same. But it doesn't matter because the person that likes Beachcomber is going to play Beachcomber. The person that likes Bumblebee will play Bumblebee, right? And if they find out that they're the same, there's plenty of other characters to play. Crowded says, are they really making those old Transformers games because they are awesome? The rumor is, which I think we all knew about this, is when Microsoft purchased Activision and Activision had all those old games like Ultimate Alliance, X-Men, Transformers, Deadpool, all those licenses, we said they would probably go approach them to try to bring them back out, right? And they would probably bring them over to Game Pass or put them in the store or whatnot. And I think that's what's happening, because if you go to the store, it shows them, not available, but they're coming back. Eclipse says, the fact that IGN gave Agatha 8, the show is so bad. Did you guys watch the 5-hour AMSR of it leading up to the show? I didn't, but I posted it. I posted it in our Discord. Yeah, see, I agree with Krebsy there. They're not going to be all unique, but it doesn't matter if they're unique. It brings in people that like certain characters, and they'll play those characters, and that's all that matters, right? There could be copy pasta characters, or maybe they got 3 of the 4 abilities of another one, but they have 1 special ability, whatever, right? Does that make them unique? It might be another. It might be different alternations of the different abilities, but just randomly generated for the characters, but they're your characters in the game, and you would like to play the game because your character's in the game now. Mike, do you remember the PlayStation 2 Transformers game? It was dope. Oh, yeah. I played them all. Do you have to unlock the 200 characters? I have no idea. I have no idea, Dolphin. All right. Let's start off with the first story. Let's start with the first story. Okay. So it says Destiny Rising. Okay. New heroes, PvP, story missions, strikes with minimal Bungie involvement, sources claim. Okay. Claimed. Okay. So let's read on. Destiny Rising is a mobile game set in the Destiny universe, features new heroes, story missions, strikes, and PvP sources reveal minimum Bungie involvement and development led by NetEase. Rumors about the Destiny mobile game titled Destiny Rising and codename Viper have been circulating for a while, and recent insider information has shed the light on the upcoming mobile game. I'm already out because it's a mobile game, right? Like, I'm just not big on mobile games. I will play games on mobile. I played The First Descendant. I played Fallout 76. I've played plenty of other games while I was away on my phone, but I'm playing console games on that. I have played mobile games on my PC, Future Revolution. What was the other one we played? There was one more other game that we played that was a mobile game, but we played it. Immortal. Diablo Immortal. Okay? Like, I'll try it out, but to play all the time on a mobile device, like, that's the only place you can play it, I'm out. Okay? So, first reports by the Game Post in 2022, it looks like the title is nearing official reveal as the new domain of the social media accounts related by the name Destiny Rising were recently spotted online. Okay, despite the skepticism from the core Destiny fan base, Destiny Rising appears to be fully fledged Destiny experience, but on a mobile device, featuring PvP, story missions, strikes, a raid, according to multiple sources familiar with the project. They're probably trying to go for the East, right? They're probably trying to go for the East out there because they play a lot of mobile games, right? I mean, that's what NetEase likes to do. Destiny Rise, Bungie failed to co-development negotiations with NetEase earlier this month. Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb revealed that Destiny Rising is being primarily developed by NetEase, with not a lot of people from Bungie working on it. While Bungie's role now is significantly reduced, it appears it wasn't always the case. At the start, Destiny Rising development, Bungie was heavily involved in the point where they sought out renegotiation of the contract with NetEase to establish the co-development partnership. According to the source familiar with the project, however, these negotiations fell through, and Bungie reduced its role, scaling back the involvement significantly. I wonder if Bungie or if it was Sony that stepped in and they said that, yeah, we're pulling you back because you guys are spread way too thin. You need to focus on what you're working on. Maybe Marathon, maybe the thing, and they didn't want to do that. But who knows? As recently as Bungie contributed to a largely limited providing narrative and support offered visual assets such as character models, references, with about 5 or 6 staff members working on the project. Destiny Rising Mobile new gameplay details. Sources tell us that Destiny Rising is a third-person shooter and has a variety of gameplay modes that also could feel familiar with the long-term Destiny fans. The core gameplay includes elements like PvP, strikes, and story missions. The gunplay closely mirrors the Destiny 2, capturing most or much of the same look and feel. Going third person, that means there's going to be a lot of microtransactions, right? It's a mobile game. Being third person, it looks like they're going to sell you a bunch of different things, but I could be wrong. But I think that's why they went third person instead of first person. I don't know why you would break away from the first person that Destiny is, even though, you know, it's part of the Destiny lore and universe and stuff. It says, additionally, we've heard some separate sources that new raid was in the works, though, and it's unclear if it's still on track for release if information is a bit old. One major gameplay change in Destiny Rising is the focus on hero characters. According to multiple sources, players will also play a predefined hero, some of whom we also know in the near to the universe, and was also being recognizable figures from the lore. Okay. As for the storyline, we've heard that Destiny Rising is a prequel. Okay, a prequel to Destiny's main story. Prequel. I don't know if I like that, but all right. One source mentioned, I'm not going to play it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So one source mentioned that the original story was set during a Warlord era. However, it's unclear if NetEase is still following those directions as the story has shifted during the development. Despite the featuring many elements of Destiny 2, Destiny Rising is a completely separate title, meaning players won't be able to transfer any progress from Destiny 2, and this includes characters, weapons, armor, and other items. I didn't think that would happen. I don't think anyone should have thought that was going to happen. The monetization model for this project remains uncertain, particularly in the light of heavy backlash from NetEase. Based on controversial microtransactions, it's a mobile game, Diablo Immortal. This is a raised concern about whether or not similar practices will be applied here. I wonder, just reading this, right? I wonder if they do the format of what the First Descendant's doing or a Warframe is doing, right? I wonder, instead of charging you microtransactions and stuff just for the cosmetics, because it's preset heroes, because it's people from the lore, I wonder if you could play as, let's say, Zavala or Ikora or Cade. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if you would sell those types of characters, considering they're going for that hero style, right? You're not making your own character. You're using characters already in the lore. And because it's a prequel, you could use these characters and they could, you could unlock them. Again, I have no idea if that's the way they're going, but that's the way I get what they're trying to say, what they're, because of the heroes, and then because it's a prequel, maybe they'll sell you the characters that you know and love, potentially. Okay. It says the target audience for Destiny Rising mobile game isn't necessarily the core Destiny fan base. Instead, it's aimed at tapping into the massive mobile gaming market, particularly in the Asia region, where mobile games dominate the industry. Well, there you go. The game posted contacted Bungie and NetEase for comment, and will be updated the story as further information. So, I don't know. This is up in the air. Will it make it? Will it not? I don't know. I just read a story, was it yesterday, a couple days ago, that Call of Duty Mobile's not doing very well. It's not popular over there as they thought. It's under expectations, as they said. So, is this going to be like a Diablo Immortal, where it gets pushed back right off the bat, and then have a player base, or is it going to flop super hard over here in the States and then do very well over in Asia? It could be a hit or miss. I think if you have graphics and stuff as like a Genshin Impact, or as First Descendant, or a Warframe, even a Call of Duty, those type of graphics on a mobile device, I think that's one, that would be pretty interesting. And then if they go the route of heroes, where they do sell you the characters that you know and love from Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, because it's a prequel, everybody's alive, everybody's there. So it'd be interesting to see if that's the way they go with the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Let me know in the live stream, what do you think this Destiny Rising is going to be? Is it weird and strange that NetEase is taking over and Bungie has very little hands-on with this particular title? Let me know in the comments or in the live stream. If you like what I do here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. And thanks for watching. What's going on, Mo? What's going on, Robert Jones? What do you think the chances are that it's a gacha game like Genshin? I think it's pretty damn good, right? Argus says you'll probably get those people, Mike, through gacha. Yeah, 100%, and that's what I'm saying. Like a First Descendant type of thing, like a Genshin Impact. World says only for 100 billion trillion thousand silver. But that's exactly right, Krebsy. Right? If you could play Marasov, or you could play as the Cade, I think that's what they're going with, right? I think that's what they're going to go with. Matter of fact, I think that would be one of the advertisements, selling points, that you could use Cade, right? Or you could use Zavala. Waterbear says, Destiny, the microtransaction, coming soon. Captain says, makes sense. In my opinion, NetEase has more experience with mobile Bungie, or just consultant, in my opinion. No, I get it. I guess what we were talking about like yesterday, like Bethesda has so many IPs. Should they let another studio work on the Fallout game, or hand off Elder Scrolls to someone else? You know what I mean? Should Bungie hand off? Obviously, what was the company in Activision I can't think of the name right now. They make great games. They made the best Destiny when Bungie wasn't involved. I can't think. Not High Moon. They closed the studio down, though. Starts with a V. I can't think of the goddamn thing. But you know who I'm talking about, right? Not Valorant. Who the hell was it? Vicarious Vision. Thank you, Crowded. God damn, my brain. Yeah, so Vicarious Vision made the best Destiny. You know what I mean? They made the best Destiny, in my opinion. So, sure. Can NetEase make a better Destiny than Bungie? Perhaps, right? A little downside because it's a mobile game. But it's a little strange that, I mean, Bungie doesn't have a lot of IPs like a Bethesda, right? Bungie doesn't have a shit ton of IPs that were successful. They lost Halo. They left that to Microsoft. They almost lost Destiny to Activision, okay? They have the Marathon IP. So it's just strange to me. Not only are they not working on Destiny 3, and they're only continuing working on the content that they're working on with Destiny 2, but they're not also hands-on with the Destiny IP that's on mobile. That's what's a little strange to me. High Moon in Vicarious Visions. They turned into Blizzard Studios. Yeah. That's what I don't understand. Oh, it says Bungie is slowly disappearing. Like Concord disappeared. It's interesting. Look, I'll when it comes out, we'll look at it and we'll be like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good game. I'm sure it'll make gangbusters of money right when it comes out, obviously. But then as people play it, they'll be like, oh, well, you're going to be paying $25 for this character, right? And that's what's going to be. Brandon says, I'm flabbergasted that they are not heavily reinvesting into Destiny, especially after canceling 3 of the 5 other games they were working on. And that's what I'm a little confused about, right, Crowded? Like, how are they not... Like, I know they lost people. They're downsizing a little bit. They're only working on that one focusing thing right now. Obviously, they're working on things behind the scenes that we don't know of, okay? But as we do know, they're only working on Destiny 2 right now. They're hands off of the Destiny Rising type of thing. So what are they doing, right? If they're doing the content that they're doing, and it's 2 times every 6 months they're releasing something, is that all hands on deck for Destiny 2 with the things? Or because if they're not working on Destiny Rising and they're not working on anything else, and the whole studio is working on just the expansions, then I'm a little concerned. I mean, Marathon's in production. It's working. But there's also people talking about how Marathon might get canceled. And again, that's all hearsay until it does happen. Billy Dad Gaming says, with the Mars Warmind expansion was a great expansion, but did they help with the Forsaken expansion? Because for me, Forsaken was peak. I forget. I think they worked on... the hell was... I've been out of Destiny for so long. I'm sure Chad could tell you. Didn't they work on the first... I thought they worked in certain aspects of the Forsaken DLC. Oh, screaming again. The worst game ever in existence to what that record from yet. And also the name of Concord may be Firewalk and Sony's first-party studio. Travis says, no game ever existed. Yeah, it doesn't exist. They just wiped it off the map. It doesn't even exist. Argus says, I can't see Marathon being successful. Not heard nor seen a single thing that makes me believe that it's anything but unsuccessful. Right, well, they're staying quiet, right? And I've said it. I've said if you don't have anything to say or show, then don't say anything, right? Work on it until you have something to show. Right, Dolphin, right? They worked on Seasons with Forsaken, which was the best stuff. Ron Slusher says, Redfall and Concord need to make a baby. We'll call it Confall. Is that good? We'll call it Confall. Hilly says, any game doubled mapped could do well. Any game double mapped could do well. I don't know what that means, Hilly. What are you trying to say? Maybe I have a stroke and I can't read it. Any game doubled map could do well. Are you saying any game that doubles the map could do well? Arga says, yeah, but the content creators have played it and talked about it. Bungie has described it, but put out trailers for it. And none of that stuff is summing up to be good game so far. I don't have any high hope. Yeah, I don't have any hope until they show me something. And even when they showed me that trailer, I was like, I'm not interested in it. Crowd says, Bungie must have thought of something amazing that will also give Marathon mass appeal. They can't cancel it yet. We'll see. Bo says Redfall did better with less. Yeah, they're still broke. Redfall's still broke, but you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Mo. It's still alive. It's still here. It's still beating. A year and a half later, it's still operational. Oh, okay, Hilly. I got you. Did Marathon only have 2 finished maps? Right, so I got what you're saying. See, it went... I didn't understand what you were saying. Yes. Jack says, Confall or Red Cord? Red Cord sounds disgusting. Bungie bloated in size. Whenever you grow too much, too fast, you actually end up hurting the company's productivity and too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing. I'll agree with that. They had a money issue all the way back in 2016. So if they were growing from 2014 to 2016 and then continue going, that could have 100% been the problem with the money issues. But it's also upper management. What's going on, Marky Mark? Red Cord. All right, yesterday, it's no Starfield, though. That's right, game of a generation. Gravity says, I could go over recent Bungie from the past 3 months, but I don't have 3 hours. TLDR is they're focusing on Destiny and Marathon, recently announced and visioned for Destiny. Sony is making them their bitch. Sure, which... It just feels strange that they're making a mobile game of Destiny and Bungie's not involved. That's all I'm saying, right? They went from just a couple years ago. They went from we're gonna publish our own games, we're gonna make movies, television shows, books, cartoons, new games. We're gonna be everything. To we're hands off, handing off the IP to somebody else, and we can't make one game. We cancel something else, and we're not working on Destiny 3. We're not publishing anything else, and now we're just working on Season Pass for Destiny 2 and a hero shooter for Marathon, right? That's a huge fucking 180 from what they wanted to do and what they're doing. East Vandal says, no one should ever mention Concord or Redfall ever again because Redfall is an actual game. Concord doesn't even exist. Biggest flop in gaming history, period. They are not the same. That is true. That's what I said. I said one is still operational and full functioning 1.5 years later. Roadkill says Sony owns them. Sony owns them in Bungie has sucked for 5 years. So I wouldn't want them to be involved. Man, how fast people turn on Bungie. Bungie, the Lord and Savior of video games, was the best company in gaming. Man, Bungie could do no wrong. Look at you guys, 8 months later, turning on your people. Oh, God. That's so bad. Imagine. They went from the greatest game I've ever played to I don't trust them. Oh, man. That was quick. That was quick. It was never Bungie's fault, and now, fuck them. Pete needs to be fired for allowing 7 different projects to be put into development and abandoned Destiny, the thing turning the project to led to layoffs. It is kind of stupid, though, right, Krebsy? That the thing that was bringing money into the company to pay for his cars and pay for the espresso machine and pay for the bigger studio and all of these things that were happening for Bungie, that they decided they wanted to expand and do all these things. And this man every week makes an appearance on Generation X Gaming. Find out tonight. Does Pete Parson still have a job? And what cars did he add to his garage this week? Yeah, I think there's like 20 people playing Redfall. Let's see. Well, at least on Steam. There you go. I was wrong. 20 peak, 7 people. But think about this for a second. Concord had less than 700 people, and it dramatically dropped. 200 people, 100 people, 70 people, 50 people, 20 people. They closed it in 10 days, 11 days, whatever it was. Redfall has 7 people playing it 2 hours ago, 24-hour peak, and yet they're like, yeah, it's okay. Just leave it there. And do you know what the difference is? One's on Game Pass. That's the difference. One still brings value to something, right? Redfall by itself might not be selling copies. There might not be a lot of people playing it, obviously, on Steam, okay? But there's people playing the game. And if they're not playing the game, it doesn't matter because it's just one other game that's on a service that people are paying for to bring that value of the $20 or the $10, the $15, whatever tier they're in. East Vandal says Bungie suffered the PlayStation effect, just like Redfall. Was Phil's fault, right? That's right. It's always Phil's fault. Remember that, East Vandal. Yeah, Xbox hasn't had a good exclusive that comes close to Horizon quality. You know what I think is funny, though? The rumor of, because the rating board said the remaster of Horizon's coming out, okay? That people are like, well, that's a good thing. But when Bethesda wasn't owned by Microsoft and Bethesda was making remaster after remaster after remaster of Skyrim, right? It was fine. But now that Bethesda's owned by Microsoft, Bethesda's underneath the microscope of their terrible, right? People let it go before, but now they don't like it, and they're like, oh, what are they gonna do? Make remasters of Skyrim again, right? And here we are at the same remakes of games that just came out like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and they just keep remaking it, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure what the numbers of Fallout 76 are on PC. They're at 9,000 right now. 9,000, 12,000, 24-hour peak, but more people play it on console than they play on PC. At least that's the last report when they said it. Roadkill says, I think Phil sucks ass with the amount of money he's had at his disposal compared to games that PlayStation has put out and compared to games that Xbox has put out is a joke in the past decade. Well, here's the thing. In the 7 years that Game Pass has been out, Xbox has brought more games to more people for less money. Right? So you're comparing somebody that's buying exclusives and putting it on their console because they're selling consoles, and then you're comparing it to the other company that's trying to put as many games on a platform because they're selling a service. Regardless if they're exclusive or not, there's more games on Game Pass that they've brought over the last 7 years that more people can play than what PlayStation has done. But they're two different business models. Jason says, I agree, though. Horizon Remake is stupid. I'm just arguing exclusive quality overall. Oh, Ultima Online. Me and Sarge used to play the crap out of Ultima Online. Oh, I know what you're talking about, Road, but that's just it. Xbox doesn't need to make exclusive games. They're just trying to get their business statement is more games for more people in more places. And they're doing that. Right? It's not their games, right? They're just bringing more games. If it's buying up companies, putting them on the service, having deals where they have smaller companies on or smaller developers on the platform of Game Pass, and they also can sell everywhere else, and then their first party titles. Again, though, you're comparing two different business models. You're saying old games and city games. I'm talking about AAA bangers that the company made at Xbox and be able to a lot more than have trillions of dollars. Again, you're talking about old school mentality of getting exclusives and selling consoles and getting games and putting on a platform and selling a subscription service. They're two different business models now. They've been two different business models this generation, the entire generation that the new Xbox Series S and X have been out with the PlayStation 5. Right? So this is why I think it's funny that Xbox fanboys shit on Sony, and I feel it's funny that Sony fanboys shit on Xbox. They're two completely different business models. Roadkill says, yeah, I know Xbox is on a different path. It's just trying to bring up as many games as many people as possible on the service. I know. But if you know that, then why say this? Why say this? Why say this? You know what I mean? Like, why do you say what you're saying if you know what it really is? You're being disingenuous by comparing one to the other. But what's a banger for you? What's a banger for you? They can't make one banger. What's a banger? A banger for you is different than a banger for them, right? They're looking for subscription models, and you're looking for game sales. Right, Eclipse? I saw the Minecraft money, right? Yeah, Minecraft by itself is ridiculous. East Vandal says banger equals sad dad walking simulators. Roadkill says, I know PlayStation brain, watch me. I only like good stuff. But what does that mean? There's third-party games that come to PlayStation that people play, right? Hence why most people play Call of Duty on PlayStation or Madden or FIFA, okay? Right? Then there's people that play a game like, I don't know, God of War on PlayStation, which is now on PC as well, right? And then people play Halo, which is also on PC. And then people play MLB The Show, which is on PlayStation and also Xbox, right? It makes no sense to me, right? Because banger is for you to make good games great. You might like the God of War, you might like the Horizon games, you might like The Last of Us, and then other people that like video games look at those as movie games. Those are not bangers to them. Bangers for them are like the Souls type games, right? Or other people's bangers are simulator games, or other banger games are the farm sim type of games, right? That's what I'm asking you. What are bangers for you? And there's no bangers, no third-party games that have sold hundreds of thousands to millions of copies that are third-party games that are on Xbox and on PlayStation. And not only are they on Xbox and PlayStation, but they're on Game Pass for a small fee or full price or only full price on PlayStation. Gears of War is Xbox's last banger. Forza Horizon 5 is a huge game for them. That was a banger. Starfield, even though people talk shit about it, okay, Starfield was a banger for them. It brought the most people in to their subscription service. Like, I totally get that you like your games on your box that you love to sleep with and hang out with and you have martinis with or whatever. Okay? I get that. You guys are both crazy on both sides when you love your plastic boxes. Okay? One is selling a subscription service, one is selling hardware and software. And you only compare yourself to one or the other, not both of the competitions that's in the thing, because Nintendo has bangers all the time, but nobody talks about that. You have to pick. You have to pick. We have 3 great basketball players on the court. We just eliminate one of them. We know he's the best, but we're not competing with him. So we're just going to compete with the other person. And I'm better than them, so I'm by default I'm the best. That doesn't work that way. That's not how that works. It's brought the most brokies be accurate. What do you mean, Travis? Ron Slusher says Nintendo is entirely on a different level. That's right. They're on an entirely different level. That's why they don't compare themselves to it, because if they did, they would lose. You said Starfield brought the most players. No, it brought the most broke people to Game Pass. You know what? It's funny, Travis? The people that project the loudest usually have the most to hide. I'll just say that. Arcus says, well, that's most people that have the mainstream console also have a Switch. They don't see the competition because their choice of allegiance and happens to be the main platform aside. Sure, but you all have the same amount of time in the day. And when you're playing Nintendo, you're not playing PlayStation. Right? So Stellar Blade only sold 1 million copies. Is that true? Is that true, Ron? It only sold... Yeah, no, I don't look up that stuff. Let me look that up. Is that true? Yeah. Estimates that Stellar Blade sold over 1 million copies, generating 15.8 million royalties. Right? Now I have a question. I thought PlayStation guys bought games. Right now, I'm bragging on them a bit because they're the ones that made the statement. The fanboys are the ones that made the statement that say people on Xbox don't buy games. And yet, Stellar Blade, what happened? What happened? Can we just go back on shitting on Pete Parson? We will. Generation X Gaming. Travis says, I'd much rather be broke and a good person than rich and an asshole. We were mixing the two because you're all of that so far since I've known you in this channel. You might be a good person. You might be rich, but you're also an asshole. Waterbeard says, I'd rather be rich and an asshole. Yeah, Foam Stars didn't sell well either. And they gave it away for free for the first month. See, I engage with a lot of people in chat because I know they're just saying shit just to say it, right? They're saying it just to say it. They actually don't believe what they actually say. They're like, oh, this would be funny to say. And they just say it. Right? And they hit enter, and they don't actually care. And if they don't care, then I don't care shitting on them. Yeah, the more the fanboys say, okay, the more the fanboys say that these people don't buy games, and yet more exclusive games come out, okay, and they don't sell. I didn't know about Stellar Blade. Okay, I didn't know about Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade sold 1 million copies. Final Fantasy only sold 3.5 million copies. Okay, hence why Square Enix is making deals with Xbox and so they can get their games out more places because it's potentially a better choice for them so they get more buyers. Okay, more and more games keep coming out on PlayStation that are not selling, and yet these people are telling me that these people don't buy games, and yet the people that are playing games on that console are not buying the games that come on the console. Astrobot's not selling well over in Japan in the article that we read yesterday, right? Concord did not sell well, sold 25,000 copies total. Stellar Blade sold less than 1 million copies, right? Like, Final Fantasy didn't sell well. It was below expectations. So, where is it? Where are these people that can shit talk one side, but yet can't support their own, you know, Hedrick of what they're talking about? These people don't buy anything. We buy our stuff. No one's buying. The games that came out, Helldivers, that came out on PC and PlayStation, more people bought it on PC. It's amazing. But that's just it, Mo. On both sides, there's casual guys. Okay? Majority of gamers are casual gamers. Hence why when you look at an achievement list on PlayStation or trophy list or the achievement list on Xbox, that's why less than 50% of the people, more than 50% of the people, don't even finish the game. And then the people that have certain achievements or trophies, it's a small percentage of the total hierarchy of all the people that own the boxes. The only person that buys all the games, I think, is David Jacob. Jacob's in the chat in Discord every day saying, I bought this, I played that, I got this, I got that. It's amazing. It's amazing. Right? He's probably the 1% of the 1%ers. Every day there's at least 3-4 games in Discord. He's like, yeah, I played this, I bought that, got this, got that. And I'm like, how many times? Like, I believe he hasn't finished a game. He just likes to buy games and play them, which is fine. Speaking of unfinished games, we talked about Battlefield. Was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago? I think it was 2 days ago. 2 days ago? I don't even know. Okay, more information has come out. I had questions when we read those articles yesterday, but now new details on the next Battlefield, and this came out yesterday, right? Today's the 19th? Yeah, today's the 19th. Came out yesterday, the 18th. Okay? If you like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations. Okay? Exclusive new details on the next Battlefield game. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Okay? It's been a good week for Battlefield fans, has it? The start of a head honcho of Battlefield, Vince Zampella, confirmed many details in the Inside Gaming past reporting, including that the Battlefield would return to 64-player matches and the classic 4-class system, and the more back to the basics approach. Battlefield General Manager Brian Bead also revealed that the game will also have a large-scale community-driven testing early next year. Oh boy, I can't wait. At least they're testing it before you pay the $125 this time. Okay, early next year. In addition to stating that the game is also a nearly delayed internal, or I'm sorry, game has had nearly daily internal testing for over a year. Okay. Zampella also confirmed that new experiences from Ripple Effect, which is an Inside Gaming, has reported that Battlefield's take on the new free-to-play Battle Royale to tie in with the game's premium release, akin to the Call of Duty found success in the Call of Duty Warzone, which we called well before they even said they're working on the next Battlefield. I said they're 100% putting a Warzone type of game in there. So he says, so what's new? Following our original report and the recent confirmation of those details, we wanted to dive into some of the nitty-gritty details that players might want to hear. I'm a player. I want to hear. Let's hear it. All right. To start, let's focus on the core of the game. Great. Class-based, large-scale, squad-based Battlefield? Is that what we're getting? Let me hear. Inside Gamer understands that the game will take place somewhere between 2027 and 2030. Okay, the other day it was 2025 to 2030 or 2029. Now it's 27 to 30. Cool. With the campaign focused on a massive private military going up against NATO. Do you see? They couldn't pick an individual bad guy because it's taking place in the future. They just want a private military going up against NATO. Okay? We called it. Right? We called it. We called the private military. There's going to be nobody, an unfaced entity versus NATO, which is all it's the good versus the non-existent bad guy that we were just making for the game, because that's what happens when you make a future game. Okay? The game will also be set in various locations worldwide, including, as soon as the game's first release concept, Gibraltar. Okay. The U.S. is also believed to be in the setting of the Battle Royale experience tropical location. Oh, what are they doing? Like Hawaii? Are they doing Hawaii because it's an island? United States? Maybe? Who knows? Okay. But let's cut to the chase and talk multiplayer. The aim is currently for 45 different weapons on launch, double that of what Battlefield 2042's core multiplayer experience launched with. In addition to the goal is for around 10 multiplayer maps, putting it in line with the likes of Battlefield 1, 3, and 4. Now, I'm gonna have to look up how many maps. Let's see, because I don't remember off the top of my head because there were so many DLCs. It had 9. All right, so 9 multiplayer and 3. It had 10 and 4. And it had the announcement, last DLC decided to take 31, but that's after the DLC. What did the original game come with? How many maps in Battlefield? Three, 6, 9, 11, 12, 13. They had 13 maps. All right, let's go back to the article. All right, so around the same, a little less, a little more, all depending on what game. All right, The game is also significantly overhauled in its destruction, and while it couldn't verify if this means that the return of Levolution, over half a dozen sources mentioned that the game would have caliber-based destruction, akin to Rainbow Six Siege. And this is exactly what I've been saying. I said the other day, Battlefield Bad Company 2 was the pinnacle of the technology and stuff they were using in the game, and then they started scaling back after 3, 4, 1, Hardline, whatever. Okay? So now they're bringing back maybe, potentially, Levolution, and the destruction, caliber-based destruction, akin to like Rainbow Six Siege, which is stupid because Rainbow Six Siege's destruction basically should have been off of... They should have said like Battlefield Bad Company 2, but, you know, whatever. With different calibers causing different amounts of destruction. It's also understood that the game will also come changes of movement, with one example given that multiple sources and abilities to pick up and move the down players. Now, this is they've been saying this for the last three games for Battlefield. Okay, you could drag your guy, you could drag. It never comes into the game, so I don't believe it until I see it, because they even showed it right before the game launched, and they took it out because it would break the game, even though the game was broken and whatnot. Before that. Okay. It says, while we almost certainly been incorporated to the Battle Royale experience, it's been implied that this is all changes as part of the team's Battlefield moments. Okay. And here they go again. They're trying to sell you on what Battlefield used to be. Just like they did with Battlefield 2042. We're bringing back the Battlefield moments. They have to quote it, the Battlefield moments. Okay. The Battlefieldness, as they said the last article. Initiative to bring back the moments that made Battlefield, well, Battlefield. Okay. We've also been told that the team currently weighing up the name of the game. Over the past year or so, the team has also been carrying out a mass survey of the biggest I've also heard about, and we participate in voting in which the game's name they prefer, Battlefield or Battlefield 6, so fingers crossed we might not have to wait long enough for the official announcement. So, a lot of the stuff they're talking about here means that they are trying to bring back, but they're missing a big point here, okay? They're missing that they brought back Battlefield 1, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 as far as map sizes, but they didn't talk about Battlefield Bad Company. They talk about the destruction of 3 and 4, which is less than what Battlefield Bad Company 2 was, okay? So, again, they're not bringing it back to the core of what Battlefield is. They're coming back to what they think people think that Battlefield is, okay? Battlefield 3 and 4 are used in the examples because Battlefield 3 was the most top-selling Battlefield game ever for all Battlefield games. No other game sold anywhere near it. It was 17 million copies that they sold. Battlefield Bad Company 2 only sold 6 million, and then Battlefield 4 sold, I think, 13 million or whatever. It was like a 4 million drop. And then it went off the cliff for Hardline, back down to 4 million. Okay? So they don't bring up Bad Company 2, and in my eyes, not talking about Battlefield Bad Company 2 is a huge mistake because, again, that was the pinnacle of where Battlefield was. The Battlefield series was Bad Company 2, and then it all went slowly downward and downward. Even though Battlefield 3 sold the most, it also didn't have all the features inside Battlefield 3. But let me know what you think. Do you think that the maps that they're going to come out, which is around 9 or 10 maps in the next Battlefield game, do you think they'll be broke? Do you think they'll be buggy? Do you think they'll fix them over the next 18 months like they did with Battlefield 2042? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. Some of my PlayStation's best exclusives, not going to buy a PlayStation user, actual trash games over there for not walking their talk. Let's see. Do Switch games have achievements? I'm not sure, Ron. I'm not sure if they have achievements. I don't think they do, but I don't really care about achievements myself. We use them for talking points, but I don't try to complete achievements. Can mobile games be part of the console war? Well, they have their own console war, right? Mobile phones. Are you an Android user? Are you an Apple user? That's a whole different war. El Nini says, I love buying Xbox games in the PlayStation, and they also love when you buy Xbox games. Hence why that's why they put them over there. So, I don't know if that was supposed to be a burn. I also people say that Horizon Zero Dawn sold 20 million, but they forget that there was also a PlayStation 4 bundle, and they count those sales. Right. Well, it's still a good selling game. You can't take that away from it. But yeah, it was a bundle thing. Argus says, LND, glad that you're overall over there, all the other games, such and such, that you would buy it and play it years later on the whole new platform. We appreciate your support. Yeah, I don't understand that burn. I like buying your games on my platform. Okay. You know that money goes to the thing you hate, right? Just think about that for a second. I hate Xbox, but I love playing their games over on my PlayStation. I know, that's why they put them there. That's exactly why they put them there. And you pay full price for them years later. When Starfield comes to PlayStation Pro, I will rebuy the game just for Platinum. But do you hear that? I don't understand. Is that a burn, though? I don't understand. That's a burn. Companies put their stuff so they make money. So congratulations for being a consumer and paying for stuff. I don't think it's the burn you think it is by saying that you're playing Xbox games on PlayStation. That's why they put them there. Well, no, that what he's saying, when you say who gives a shit if they count the bundles, well, that game didn't actually make that money, Roadkill. They throw that game in for free into the bundle, right? It's a diminished thing. They put it in there to sell the console to get you in, right? So it's not really selling that copy. They're counting it, just like the Nintendo did for Wii Sports, right? It came with every copy, just like U2, the band, when they put their music album on the iPod. The iPod you bought, it was just the same amount. It was $400 or whatever it was back in the day. But U2 album came on there. That's why U2's album was the best selling album ever, because like hundreds of millions of iPods were sold. It's completely different when you talk about sales sold, actual sales sold, and when someone gives you something for free. It's a burn to a true Xbox fanboy because they have a meltdown that they're selling their games on PlayStation. Right. You guys would know that because you guys are the same on the opposite side. Like, look in a mirror, okay? And in that mirror, it's like looking at yourself, because you guys melt down just like they do when you say stuff like this. That's it. It's not a burn. Z says people probably think that Xbox is pleading to get their games on PlayStation when PlayStation is using Xbox games to keep people on their platform. Right, because time is the essence, Z. Right? If you're not playing, regardless if you're watching a video or, you know, cooking a steak, playing on PlayStation, playing on Xbox, playing on PC, watching TV, we all have the exact same amount of time in the day. And they're trying to capitalize on how much time of that day that you're spending in their ecosystem, right? So if they want you to stay in there longer, and they don't want you to go spend that extra money on the Xbox, but they want you to buy the Xbox game on the PlayStation. They want you to buy that PlayStation game on the PC, right? This is why they want more time spent in their ecosystems. We don't know the full details, Krebsy, on that. I looked up something today on Twitter, and the guy says that maybe it's the patent about throwing balls at creatures in an open field, because in June of 2023, they did a patent. Nintendo did a patent for that, So they don't know if that's the reason. So I'm not going to report on it or talk about it because I want to see what the actual lawsuit's about. Ron Slusher says PlayStation is basically competing against itself. And the last couple of weeks, they're exposing their flaws, from Concord to lack of first-party games to overpriced mid-gen console. Redfall is bundled with Game Pass. So do you count that as 35 million copies? Well, they don't count those as sales, Ron. They don't count those as sales. And I've talked about this in the past. Like, you would have to sell what, like 3 copies, like 3.2 copies, whatever it is, to count as one sale for that game. Right? We talked about that with Star Wars Outlaws. So because it's $18, you would have to have 5 people buy that game for the same price as someone bought it for 70. Right? Does that count as one sale? Or does that count as 5 sales? I wouldn't count it as 5 sales because it's not full price. Ron Slusher says, Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5 outsold Stellar Blade on PlayStation 5. Let that sink in. I like the sink in part. That's, I think it outsold them 4-1. 4-1. I didn't know that until today when you said about Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade sold 1 million copies, and I think Sea of Thieves sold 4 million copies. What, you can make a patent for throwing? Yeah, it's weird. Imagine, I don't know. Imagine making a patent of steering a car on a racetrack, or looking down the sights of a gun in a game, Eclipse. That's what that patent sounds like. You can't throw balls at creatures. That's a mechanic that's patented by Nintendo. Like, what? Roadkill said Stellar Blade is brand new IP that sold millions of copies, 1 million copies. Dude, there's nothing wrong with the Sea of Thieves as a game that's also been around for 12 years. They've been working on it. That's a dumbass. Well, what about Hi-Fi Rush? Hi-Fi Rush didn't sell very well. I think it actually sold more. I think it sold 2 million copies. I think it was played by 5 million people, but it sold 2 million copies. East Vandal says, if Nintendo wins the lawsuit over ball throwing, then I'm reevaluating the relationship with AAA gaming. I don't know if that's what they're saying. They say they don't know if that's the actual point, but someone said they did file a patent in June of 2023 of that. Which would be interesting because they knew Power World was coming out before that, but they filed for a patent and they got it in June of 2023, meaning they've owned Pokemon for many, many years, right? So why didn't they patent it before? But when Power World was announced and then they submitted the patent. So that's pretty shitty if that can be proven. What's going on, Kraken? Argus says, yeah, but Pal World isn't throwing balls at creatures. They're throwing crystal spheres at friends. Yeah. But that's why I don't want to report on it, because I don't know if that's what it is, but that's what I just saw on Twitter. Yeah, we're going to look at that in a second. We're going to watch another video of Crimson Desert. It's a 15-minute video. We're going to watch that real fast, and then we'll talk about Veilguard. All right, let's go over to that. Krebsy says 30 is going to have to need to change this title to one of the daily grind gaming news to tribalism of Xbox for Sony special event. How about dumbasses in chat? I like that better. I like the sound of that. Dumbasses in chat. Crimson Desert, the next big RPG game. All right, gameplay breakdown, combo demo, and open world 2024. So let's check this out. Let's watch this video. You guys have been asking for like 2 days or so. Did I watch the Crimson Desert stuff? I didn't want to watch an hour, so I found this video that's like 15 minutes, so let's watch it.
Looking for an awesome new open-world action game to put on your radar, then Crimson Desert is definitely one.
Yes,
that
Kraken, you can be the main dumbass in chat. Yes, you can. Since you volunteered yourself, you can do it.
Stamped out for. It's a mix of some awesome games like Zelda, The Witcher, and takes inspiration with mechanics from things like Assassin's
I have it where it's... No, it's on normal. He just talks fast. Okay.
Creed, GTA, and more. So in today's video, we're going to go over the essential things that you need to know about the game from the current release information.
This looks really good, but first impressions off Crimson Desert. We did see this last year, I think, at the Game Awards, if I'm not mistaken, right? I feel like it looks like Kingdom Deliverance. It looks like Dragon Dogma 2. It looks like The Witcher. It looks like a bunch of different ones in this set period of time.
To its gameplay mechanics. We were lucky enough to actually get some hands-on time and play the game, so we'll also sprinkle in some of our own experiences with this game to hopefully give you a better idea of what to expect as we get closer to launch. So let's not waste any time, and you can let us know what you're thinking of the game and what your hopes are for it down below. And it looks...
Is this going to be like a Black Myth Wukong, but in this time period type of thing? That same type of game? Open world RPG type of thing?
Looks like a lot of people are confused about exactly what the vision for Crimson Desert is, as it looks like a meld of all of these different games. Well, Crimson Desert is an open-world action RPG made by Pearl Abyss. It's set in a gritty fantasy setting where players will have to survive in a...
Isn't Pearl Abyss... These are the same people... This is the same people that made the other one, right? What the hell's the other game? God damn, I freaking hate that my brain can't think of these things. This is called Crimson Desert. What's the other one called? Isn't it the same company? Crimson... The hell is it, chat? I'm just going to keep pressing the button.
A harsh world that's meant to be filled with mystery.
Black Desert Online, thank you. It's the same company, isn't it? No, I understand it's online, but it's the same company that made Black Desert Online, right?
And wonder. As we mentioned, the game is being made by Pearl Abyss, which...
So what's the microtransactions in this?
Might be a name that you're very familiar with or may have not heard of at all. So here's a little background to this studio. Pearl Abyss are a Korean studio, probably best known for making the MMO Black Desert Online.
Oh, see, I didn't even need you, chat. I could have just hit play button, and he would have said it for me. Son of a bitch.
If you haven't heard of them before, you've probably seen the adverts. The game is quite popular for its awesome and flashy combat system that has a variety of different classes.
That right there just proves to you I don't watch these fucking things before. Like, literally, this is the first time I'm watching it.
And if you've ever seen those combat showcase videos for these classes, you can see that the studio has gone crazy with the combat aspect of it, which is important as the combat in Crimson Desert from our experience was also insanely awesome. Crimson Desert is their attempt to breach into the Western console market, similar to how Shift Up is mostly known for mobile games like Nikki, but recently released Stellar Blade.
Uh-oh. Does that mean this game's only going to sell 1 million copies on PlayStation?
Another example would be the upcoming Phantom Blade Zero from S-Game. So there are a few different studios trying to break into our Western market. Now, originally, this was supposed to be a prequel to Black Desert, but it's grown into something entirely on its own. We're talking about a massive open-world game with intense combat and an epic story. In the early stages of development, the devs did mention that the game would be a blend of single-player and multiplayer experiences, but there hasn't been any mention of the multiplayer aspect in quite a while. It was a...
Is it the camera shake or the The compression ratio or what? It looks very stuttery to me.
Originally meant to be an MMO, but transitioned into a single-player game that was going to maintain some multiplayer elements. But as mentioned previously, there is very little detail on what the multiplayer elements will be. The game is set to be released for PlayStation.
Wait a minute. Multiplayer elements, so
that was going to maintain some multiplayer elements.
Okay.
But as mentioned previously, there is very little detail on what the multiplayer elements will be. The game is set to be released for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC, but doesn't currently have a release date yet. People were speculating that the game would release in late 2025 or early 2026. However, with GTA 6 on the horizon for fall of 2025, it probably isn't a smart idea to release another open world game around that time.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If Grand Theft Auto 6 pushes later in the year of 2025, and let's say they're ready with their game, but they're waiting to see what they do, and then they delay theirs to 2026, that means you're not getting Crimson Desert until late 2026, right? I don't think they want to push it back that far. If they're waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out, just decide what they're going to do.
Even if they are widely different. Games moving their release dates away from GTA is a common thing, so we think Pearl Abyss will be taking notes here, as they don't want their game to get drowned out by a massive release like GTA 6. For the story of the game, you'll step into the boots of Macduff, who they may have recently renamed to Cliff.
I was going to say McDuff. Cliff's not a much better name, but whatever.
You are a hardened mercenary who's leading a pretty ragtag crew of fighters in a world that's honestly falling apart. The setting is Pywell, a land that's just dripping with war, chaos, and betrayal. And our character Cliff isn't a typical hero.
It's just weird. The massive character in the game, it's Master Cliff.
He's got some baggage and he's really trying to survive out there while keeping his crew alive. He's got personal reasons for the things he does, and the story doesn't shy away from showing the complexity of being a leader in this kind of brutal setting. As you journey through Pywell, you'll get tangled up in power struggles, shady factions, and different...
I can tell you right now, when this game comes out, there's just way too many white people in it. Way too many white people.
Rulers who are definitely not playing fair. It's meant to be gritty, dark, and packed with moments where you question loyalty, leadership, and what it means to protect those you care about. The combat will be quite intense. Think of up-close and personal action with some seriously cinematic moments mixed in. The studio's also planning to tell an epic story alongside this insane combat, and
that fucking dragon looks really cool on that building, on the castle.
The studio's also planning to
look at that.
To tell an epic story alongside this insane.
Look, his mouth opens up. He's got like a spinning throat.
And if you're into deep storytelling, mixed with the thrill of a big open world to explore and experience with epic battles, then Crimson Desert is looking like it ticks a lot of boxes. After having some personal hands-on time with the game, we're really excited to dive in and learn more about it. It's a world...
I love the fact that he wrote that line. And I guarantee you in the edit, they're like, oh, you jump off the cliff at that point. Oh, you should put it there. You should totally put that there when we jump off the cliff and say you can dive in.
On time with the game, we're really excited to dive in and learn more about it. It's a world that mixes fantasy with a dab of some crazy things that you would see in anime, like teleporting bosses with wave beams. Not only that, but there seems to be a great mix of characters, from standard humans to towering ogres and other mythical beings. It really does seem like a perfect backdrop for someone looking to dive into a fantasy adventure with plenty of variety. This variety extends into the game's open world and the activities
a badass cobra
you can do, and the world of Pywell is looking pretty massive, and we have literally seen this in our gameplay reaction. Think about huge mountains, lush forests, bustling towns, and even ancient ruins. The world isn't just going to be a pretty backdrop though.
Hold up. Look how high you are. He jumps off the mountain.
In our gameplay reaction.
Look how high he's up. What is the ceiling on this game? That is crazy height.
Think about huge...
Did you have to climb up that mountain?
Mountains, lush forests, bustling towns, and even ancient ruins. The world isn't just going to be a pretty backdrop though. It has dynamic weather systems, day-night cycles, that are actually going to impact gameplay. For example, if you're out in a snowstorm, expect your visibility to drop and your movement to slow down.
Dude, this This is really impressive. Not only is it impressive with just the size and scale of the map that it looks like, but look at the shadows it's casting over from the mountaintops and also the clouds.
Or if you're traveling at night, you might run into some dangerous creatures lurking around. Something that we were really hoping for, and after reading back through a bunch of information, it's actually been confirmed that the NPCs will go about their daily lives and routines, and you'll stumble upon random events and encounters that can help or seriously mess up your plans. This is a highlight for Rockstar games with things like Red Dead Redemption and GTA, where you would have random dynamic events that would make the world feel a bit more alive.
Those are the best things about the game, right? Grand Theft Auto, and like Red Dead Redemption, where like the world just feels alive, right? Even in Star Wars Outlaws, the way they did the world feels lived in, the world feels alive. That's what these games do. That's what Grand Theft Auto 6 is, or 5 has done, and 4 and whatnot.
We've yet to see this play out in actual gameplay, but it is in the plans for the game, so hopefully they can pull it off. But now moving on to the activities, from the trailers we've seen so far, the game is packed with things to do. Here's a few examples that we got to see. There's mercenary contracts, and of course we are a mercenary, so taking on these contracts is a big part of the game.
You could carry sheep? I'm in.
These range from hunting down dangerous creatures to taking out rival mercenary groups and protecting caravans from bandits. Each contract is meant to feel different, and some can lead to longer quest lines with even bigger rewards. You also have the exploration and sort of treasure hunting aspect, and if you're like me, you love wandering off the beaten path and finding that good loot. There's going to be plenty of hidden caves, ruins, and ancient sites waiting to be explored. And yes, of course, the loot is there too, and there's lots of it, with things like powerful weapons to magical artifacts. If you take the time to explore, you're meant to be rewarded. On top of this, you're not just stuck running around on foot, you can also travel on horseback, and from what we've seen, there might be some flying mounts to help you.
But does the horses have testicles? That's the real question. Do they shrink and expand in the cold and heat?
Get around. Imagine soaring over a massive battlefield or gliding into a hidden area that you can't reach before, so this is looking pretty cool. But if you're into your crafting stuff, you'll find plenty of resources to gather, whether it's rare herbs, minerals, or animal hides, and you can use these to upgrade your gear or craft new powerful items. And you
fishing? Oh, another sold part of a game.
You will definitely need to upgrade those armor pieces, especially for some of the tougher boss fights later on. As you explore though, you will come across different factions, each with their own agenda.
Right, Salty? Dragon testicles, that's the question.
So you can align yourself with some of them, which will open up new quests, gear, and influence in the world. But you do want to be careful, because making enemies with the wrong faction can seriously complicate your journey. And then beyond the main storyline that you'll be going on, there's also going to be
all their swords are clipping through their holsters.
Side quests that will introduce you to the world's lore, various new characters, and there's meant to be moral choices too. Some of these side quests will just be light-hearted and funny, while others might get you deep into the politics of the game and various other dark aspects of Pywell. There's even more than this, because we have seen some wacky things, with Cliff having missions to carry sheep or to just go fishing. But something that is asked a lot about the gameplay is if it will use magic. We know from the early gameplay trailers that Cliff is able to use magic in some form, and the website does.
I am Cliff. Like Minecraft Steve. It's just a weird name. Nothing against Cliff. It just doesn't sound like you look at this fantasy world and the main character's name is Cliff. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit.
Say, while you start off as a more grounded mercenary, there's the potential to tap into the arcane world, whether it's through learning powerful spells.
That lightning looks sick as shit.
Unlocking ancient artifacts, or forming alliances with magical beings, you'll start to gain access to these otherworldly powers. One of the things that sets the fantasy tone right away is the massive variety of these magical creatures that roam the land. We're not talking about things like wolves or bears. This is where the real fantasy kicks in, because you can expect to fight against gigantic dragons, griffins, and other mythical creatures that require some serious strategy to bring down. Some of these creatures will be tied to the lore of Pywell, serving as guardians of ancient ruins or being hunted by factions for their...
All turn? That's, that's 7 points. 7 points for you, sir. 7 points. the shittiest joke today. Cliffhanger. Fantastic. Well time delivered. You didn't think too long on that one. Very good. Very good.
Their magical properties. Now we will go a bit more in depth about the actual combat, because playing this was one of our personal highlights after reading a ton of the impressions that came out after Gamescom. It seems like this was the same for a lot of people that got to play it, but just as a caveat, while the combat was super fun, the controls have a massive learning curve if you don't know the button prompts and combo flows. This is how our session was handled. We were thrown in the deep end and just had to figure things out, so it has been a bit hard to convey how the controls and combat feel. But luckily, a Korean channel had recorded a gameplay tutorial.
Oh, Z comes in with another banger. Another banger. 5 points for Z. Took a little less time, or took a little bit more time. You banked off of what Altern did, but I'll give you 5 points. I'll give you 5 points.
Which gives us a better insight into how the combat is meant to be, and we didn't even get to see this ourselves, and it really shows off the depth of the combat from kicks to heavy swings and so on, so let's go through it. Do note though, this is an off-screen recording, so the footage is a little lower quality than usual, but it is good stuff. The first weird thing is the fact that sprinting is on...
I have a question. When people are playing video games, the consoles literally have a record functionality. Like, they're built in. Who's taking their cell phone and taking video like this?
On the A button, and you have to tap A twice to run in a similar way to GTA.
Like, you can literally take the recording. It doesn't have to be online, right? You can unplug it. You can take the recording in, and then you can... for fuck's sake.
The jump is on the X button, but a cool thing that you can do is press the Y button to kick things. The tutorial shows a variety of different versions of the kick, and you can do things like double kicks or even drop kicks. A kick will send an enemy flying, so it's going to be great for crowd control.
I'll tell you what, I know it's through it's lower quality because of the phone, but the graphics don't look as crisp and clean than what they've been showing in the trailers, obviously.
You also have your roll on the B button, and this can be perfectly timed, which will give you back some of your stamina. This is very important because
like the camera even looks farther back as well.
Your stamina drains super quickly from pretty much...
Right? Yeah, definitely. Much farther back.
Your stamina. This is very important because your stamina drains super quickly from pretty much every action you do, and you can double tap this to do a sidestep. This is kind of what makes the combat feel a bit like you're playing a Dark Souls game, because you have a heavy...
Oh, no, I get they're not supposed to be doing it, Argus. Just because you can't do something doesn't mean you can't hit record on your console. Or your PC, or something else.
And light attack on the shoulder triggers. These attacks both feel very tactile and great to pull off. The heavy attacks are some of the ones where you see all of the particle effects going ham, which we know some people are not sold on, but we personally like them. Both the light and heavy attacks also have combo strings that you need to learn. You also have a shield to block with, and much like your combat roll, you can time this perfectly for extra benefits. You aren't just limited to your sword and shield though, as you'll have a number of different weapons. One of these weapons is the bow, which can be quickly equipped via holding the left trigger.
Well, if it's dynamic, Argus, if it's dynamic, this guy that he's fighting is really tiny, right? And it stays pretty far the entire time, but yet this guy is much bigger.
And you can double.
Okay, this guy's much bigger, and the camera's closer to him. So I don't know if the camera is dynamic.
You also have...
You might be right, but the evidence doesn't show it for this. Because obviously, if you're fighting like a bigger dragon or an ogre, like it would pull back because he's bigger. But this guy's pretty tiny that you're fighting.
Shield to block with, and much like your combat roll, you can time this perfectly for extra benefits. You aren't just limited to your bow, which can be quickly equipped via holding the left trigger. In our demo, we also saw a variety of different ammo types, which was pretty cool. The game also has a weapon wheel and quick access menu for swapping your weapons and using consumables. One of the awesome things about the combat though isn't just that you have access to some great core abilities, but you can also access a wide variety of skills. For example, we've seen a riposte which acts as a quick counter attack, and this will kick your enemies away and send them flying. We've also spoken about your ability to parry already, but here you can see it in action and just how powerful it can be. One of my favorite sword attacks though was the turning slash, which was this massive attack that looks similar to the heavy attack, but just does so much more damage. And then we can talk about the WWE moves. This is where the combat starts to feel a bit tricky, as you need to press a
No, I understand that the camera is moving with him and stuff, but again, it's super far back compared to the footage that they showed, right? I understand the guy's using it. It's not like the camera's moving that he's moving it, right? The camera that he's filming this with is locked on a tripod or whatnot, okay? But the different moves, it moves with the actual camera. But if it's dynamic, then it would it would get closer to him because it's a smaller character. It would back up if it's a bigger character to fight.
Combination of both shoulder and multiple face buttons in quick
He just did a stone cold stunner
succession. However, the results are pretty awesome when you do it. Next up, we have some examples of the sword attacks that you can do with skills, like the stab and flurry slash combo attacks, both of which are great for boss fights. And next there's an attack that we didn't even know existed, but it is insanely awesome, as it's a crowd control move where it's a skill that reflects the sun's light off your sword.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's very simple but very cool. You also have the Force Palm, which is an attack that is used in a lot of the demo footage in the boss fights, and it powers up your fist for a massive attack, and you can also use it
After you do that move, though, Dolphin, if you're in a crowd of people, like in a city, somebody throws you a beer.
while airborne. On top of this, you get access to this slow motion precision focus when you dodge with the bow that makes for some epic shots. However, the real epicness comes from combining all of these things together into doing things like jumping off of enemies into doing flying double drop kicks. And just like in Dragon's Dogma, you can even climb on the bigger monsters to take them down, so we love to see that in here too.
See, now that's dynamic, right? So you're fighting the guy, but then when you jump on his back, the camera pulls back and stuff. But it fills the frame. There was so much room for that other fight.
There are also a ton more mechanics.
And again, this is now you see the camera moving a little bit.
Swing and glide and
He's
more,
holding it.
so
Now
it
you can
really
see it's
is
holding
adding
it.
to the experience. For example, we have seen mechanics borrowed from other games like the parkour and wall climbing that could be straight up lifted from Assassin's Creed or Zelda with the Master Hand.
Exactly like Assassin's
If you
Creed.
are wondering about the weapons though, you will be able to find and loot new ones in the open world. In our demo, we were able to get a brand new sword and shield after defeating the Stag Lord boss, which had better stats on it. It isn't only a sword that you can use though, as you have access to other brutal weapons like swords, axes and spears, and of course your ranged weapons with things like the bow. It was even mentioned on an early website blog that there would be guns and cannons that would fit the settings, so that's going to be really interesting if it's still true. Something that they haven't shown for a while is that your companions will be able to assist you in battle, as you'll be able to combo attacks with them. We don't know exactly how this system will work, but it's super interesting to see that it is included, as it will make your party feel a lot more alive. One of the reasons that the release of Crimson Desert has taken a while is that they're working on a new Black Space engine alongside developing the game. This is because they really wanted to realize their ambition for this title. The Black Space engine is kind of like the secret sauce behind Pearl Abyss's visuals and seamless open worlds. Here's a quick summary of what Pearl Abyss said about the engine. This engine powers everything from the gritty realism of Crimson Desert to the colorful, vibrant world of Doc AV. It's all about
whatever happened to this game.
That dynamic weather, fluid combat, and character customization that will have you tweaking every little thing. Whether you're in the middle of a massive battle or just vibing in town, they want the Black Space engine to make everything look and feel smooth without breaking a sweat. Now, if you are interested in both Crimson Desert and Doc AV, they have said that once the work on Crimson Desert is done, because they're using a shared engine, the work on Doc AV will be super quick to complete.
So wait a minute. This is the same company that's doing Doki V, and they advertised that game like 4 years ago. So you're telling me they stopped working on that game to work on this game? I'm so confused.
But overall, Crimson Desert is looking like a very exciting game. If you're a fan of action-adventure RPGs, then you should definitely have this on your radar. From our own personal experience, we had a ton of fun with it having played it, and we can't wait to play and experience more. We do think that the game does need some polish in different places to make it fully realize its potential. However, with no solid release date yet and the team only wanting to release the game when it is ready, we're excited to see where this one will go. Hopefully they release a good game, but for now we have to be cautious. So what do you think of all of this? Tell us below, and make sure you're subscribed because
it definitely looks very impressive. It looks very impressive. A little too impressive. I'm interested in it. Obviously, we'll follow it as it comes out more. But some of that stuff was crazy. Like the amount of height in that game. I don't know if it's going to be that big when it comes out. Like the verticality of it, and then just the scale of the width. I mean, obviously, we have games that are much bigger and stuff like that we've seen. We're like, holy Christ, the map is gigantic. But everything you could do, basically, it feels like The Witcher / GTA mixed with Dragon's Dogma 2, all in one game. It looks insane. It looks insane. Right. Jason says it looks, like I said, it looks too good to be true. Right. Like, what's the catch? And it's from a company that monetizes a shit ton of stuff in Black Desert Online. So, like, what are they going to do? Company says for having 4 games in development, Pearl Abyss only has around 1.3 devs, or 1.3 thousand devs. They only have one guy. You got 1.3 people working on that. Yeah, Doki V, I don't understand. They showed so much that song got stuck in my head. Just thinking of the name, the song got back in my head. They showed it so many years ago. They're like, yeah, when we're done with this game, that game will be real quick to finish. Like, what? Then why the hell did you show it like 4 years ago? That makes no sense. Makes no sense why they showed it that early. All right, got another video, 9 minutes long. It's about Microsoft Flight Sim. Take 2. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, the first preview from IGN. So we're gonna look at this. All right.
That's the world. In 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator gave us the world. In 2024, Microsoft Flight Simulator is letting us live in it. And man, oh man, I cannot wait to live there. 5 years ago, I was at the preview event for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I left in total disbelief of what I'd seen. And the final 10 out of 10 version did not disappoint. Fast forward to today, and I was having a hard time imagining what a new version could add that would bring
the detail,
the same sense of awe that I had the first time I experienced the world.
My son loves this game.
Well, my friends, after my first time playing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, I am honestly more excited for the upcoming entry into the series than I was after my initial hands-on with the Flight Sim 2020 back in 2019.
Has it really been that many years? It's been 5 years since the last game came out.
I'm sure you will get your PPL in no time.
So Career Mode is easily the biggest addition to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and Asobo, the team behind Microsoft Flight Simulator, will tell you it's the defining feature of the upcoming sim. I kind of think they're selling themselves a little.
All right, what's this now? Private pilot license airplane, commercial pilot license, rotorcraft, power, hi-fi, turbine, engine rating. Oh, Akuta Pop is going to have a wet dream over this.
Bit short, but it is absolutely the biggest new addition to the Flight Simulator formula. First and foremost, it's much more open than I had anticipated. There's no pinned coordinate on the map to start your journey. You build your avatar and start at any airport in the entire world. You meet your mentor and take off on a familiarization flight, and from there you progress from a rank amateur, like me, to an aviation mogul, if that's what you feel like.
See, I like that. That's what I was asking for in the last one. I was like, I want to have something to do. I got bored with the last one because you're just flying, and I get flying is flying, just like I like truck driving and whatnot. But I wanted some sort of goal. In American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator, I get to upgrade my business. I get to buy trucks in my fleet. I get to hire drivers. Like, you're operating a business. In this, you're just flying. And I was like, they're missing something from this game. I was like, they have to put some sort of like career path that you're leveling up your business. Like, I want to own a airline company, and I'm one of the pilots or the owners or something. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's what this is.
The interface in career mode is familiar to anyone who's been gaming for any period of time. It looks kind of like the traditional skill tree you might find in a Spider-Man game, for example, but it tracks your aviation certifications. Eventually, you can earn enough money through career mode to start your own aviation business, if you like.
See, now we're talking. Now I can get up enough in the thing where now I can have my own airline company. Yes. Now that's what I'm interested in.
If you'd rather gamify the sim experience without pouring yourself into career mode, there's a new ranked challenge league. Challenges aren't new to Flight Sim, but the competitiveness has been taken up with rankings and a constantly rotating assortment of new challenges each week. I tried the FA-18 Hornet race through the Grand Canyon during my hands-on with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And what I really loved about it was how the flight model in challenge mode remains the same as it is in the rest of the sim. So in other words, it's not an arcadey sim-like. You have to complete the challenges given all the aerodynamics, handling, and physics found in the greater sim. Everything is true to life. It was a lot of fun, and damn it if I can't wait to race in the final game with my Thrustmaster flight stick and throttle. The standard version of Microsoft Flight Simulator will have 38 new aircraft, including one of my all-time favorites, the A-10 Warthog. I took some time to fly one from its home base at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, and was really impressed with how it feels and flies.
Can you get out and walk around? Can I get out of the plane and walk around?
As well as the level of detail in Davis-Monthan's famous aircraft boneyard, a monstrous graveyard of decommissioned airplanes inside the base. Oh, and I may have inadvertently pumped my fist and said yes when they showed the C-17 Globemaster as one of the upcoming planes, but that can't be proven. Yes, it can. I just admitted to it.
Mo says yes, you can. You can?
When I say everything has been improved upon, it doesn't really do justice to the scale at which Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 builds on its predecessor. The detail on the ground in any given area has increased 4,000 times over 2020. So snow, mud, and even grass.
Why would you show this clip?
4,000 times.
You're just gonna go right through the tree. He cuts it right before, but why would you show this clip?
So snow, mud, and even grass will show wheel marks if you roll through it. We did see a brief glimpse of a bush plane with its oversized tires caked with mud, and that wasn't just for illustrative purposes. If you land in the mud, it's gonna stick, and it just might affect how your plane handles when you're back in the air.
Yeah, but I want collision.
Meanwhile, every helipad on the planet, let me say that again, every helipad on planet Earth is now in Flight Simulator 20.
That's crazy. The fact that they have planet Earth a 1-to-1 scale is ridiculous.
24. That is over 80,000, a number that includes all 941 offshore oil rigs. The team also created the first database to track every glider airport in the world. They also modeled over 1 million tall hazards, including radio towers and other obstructions, so keep an eye out. Head of Microsoft Flight Simulator Jorg Newman told me the goal is to get Flight Sim as real as Earth, and it goes even further than just making sure every hazard is expressed in-game. So, for example, people in the game will speak the language from their countries of origin. If you walk through the cabin of your simulated transatlantic flight from, let's say, Germany to the United States, you're going to hear people speaking both German and English.
Interesting.
Animals also have gotten a huge upgrade utilizing an open source animal tracking database to simulate population density and even movement from day to day.
I'm sorry. Did he just say animal tracking inside the game so you'll see movement of animals on the ground?
Animals also have gotten a huge upgrade utilizing an open source animal tracking database to simulate population density and even movement from day to day. In other words, if there's a place with zebras on planet Earth, you're going to be able to find them in Flight Sim. And not just as a location in the UI like the current.
Will poachers use this game as a form of finding the herds?
Current iteration. Even with all the upgrades to the graphics and physics, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 promises to be a lighter experience on your hard drive than Flight Sim 2020 currently is. If you've ever changed the drive location of Flight Sim or had to, I don't know, re-download it, oh my god, you know the pain of pulling down hundreds of gigs of data. Thankfully, Flight Sim 2024 addresses these problems with cloud.
That's what I'm saying, Jason. They can. It's so realistic. They can plan their routes out for drug mules. They're like, wait a minute, where are the zebras now? Let's go poach some zebras. They say right here. Let's radio in. Yeah, they should be right there. Okay. Go on, Sin.
Streaming. If you're not going to fly around the whole world, why do you need to download it all? Same with airplanes. If you tend to only fly one or two, there is no reason to have the entire fleet living on your drive. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 officially releases in November, and for me, a person who spent a lot of the pandemic and the years since obsessed with Flight Simulator and aviation as a whole, it cannot come soon enough. I am suitably impressed with what I saw. Everything good is better now, and everything new looks awesome and fun, and I cannot wait to build my fleet of world-dominating commercial aircraft, rescue hikers stranded on the side of mountains, and just,
the career thing has got me
same flight
excited.
Path off the coast of Maine I've flown a million times before. I am more excited about 2024 than I was.
You know what I think is funny? This graphics right here that are on the screen inside the cockpit, okay, is better graphics than the actual original, like, Microsoft Flight Sim way back when.
2020, and that's from me, the guy who gave Flight Simulator 2020 a 10 out of 10 review score. So that's saying something. For more on Microsoft Flight Simulator, check out my 10 out of 10 review of Flight Simulator 2020, as well as the recent gameplay overview trailer. And for everything else in the world of games.
So there you go. That looks insane, right? Petabytes of data. That's a little like over the top. You're like, wait, I could track animals in the game. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, this is like I was saying, Okudababa, this is like your wet dream. Like, the career path actually sounds really good, and I was excited when he said that you can rank up your license, and then when you get to the commercial flight, you can actually operate and own your own airline. That's cool. That's cool. And then he said you could walk up and down the cabin, which you can do now, but there's no people in it. My son actually complained about it. He's like, he flies the planes. It's like, there's no people in here. He's like, I wish they had people. Well, now they are. And not only are there going to be people on your flight, but they're actually going to speak the native language that you picked them up in. Agatha all along has been sitting around a 70 critic and audience sneaking into the bottom 5 MCU shows. Note, all bottom 5 are the most recent shows. All right, so has the embargoes lifted for... There you go, preview. Preview for Dragon Age. We can watch skill ups 6 hours hands-on. We can Let's see. Dragon Age. That's the character creator. Yeah, I think we'll just 56 minutes. This is let's go with skill up.
This video is brought to you by NVIDIA GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs, delivering industry-leading performance and unmatched visuals in games like Star Wars Outlaws, Black Myth Wukong, and Dragon Age the Veilguard. Veilguard is launching day one with RTX-enabled ray tracing and DLSS 3 for super smooth frame rates. It joins the now 600 plus games which benefit from NVIDIA's RTX tech, so stick around to the end of the video to learn more about how NVIDIA's hardware and technology will transform the way you play.
A few weeks ago, I flew to San Francisco, the land of clam chowder and bison, apparently. Got to hang out with our editor Stu, since that's his hometown, but the main reason I was there was not for Stu, it was to go hands-on with one of the biggest games releasing this year, Dragon Age Veilguard. Wait, Dragon Age the Veilguard. God, that does not roll off the tongue. EA offered to cover the flights and accommodation, but as with all our previews, we declined and covered all of our own costs.
And that's why I like watching Skill Up. Right there. That's why I like watching him. He doesn't take 1 penny, 1 cent. They say they'll fly him. He says, no, we'll fly ourselves. Thank you very much.
We do that to guarantee you truly independent coverage, unswayed by the allure of free trips. It's our money on the line when we talk about games, not the publishers. So I got to play a surprisingly hefty amount of time with the game. What I thought was like a 2-hour session turned out to be almost a full day, about 6 hours in total, in fact, only broken up by lunch and interviews. We were playing on PCs with the option to use keyboard, mouse, or controller. I played on controller because it seemed like the go-to for this one. The game was running on ultra settings with DLSS set to quality. I'm pretty sure it was running on a 4090, though I can't confirm, but everything you see in this video is my own recorded footage. Unfortunately, I only realized in editing that my recording is sort of shifted up slightly, cutting off the top, so if you're wondering why the footage looks zoomed in a bit, that's why. I've also done my best to ensure this video is spoiler-free, but if you want to avoid visual spoilers as well, you can just listen to this like you would a podcast. Let it be known that I was entering this preview with cautious optimism. The game looked visually impressive from all the marketing released so far, but the combat seemed a little rough around the edges and the facial capture looked equally stiff in some cases. Both were disappointing to see for a BioWare game so long in development. But after about 6 hours with the game across various scenarios throughout Act 1, what do I think so far of Dragon Age the Veilguard? Honestly, I came away from this preview quite impressed. In fact, I'm more excited now than I was going into it.
That's good to hear.
Most of the concerns I had have since been alleviated. Now, this may not be what old school fans of the
I still think the combat doesn't look right. It looks weird.
Franchise are hoping to hear, but what surprised me most about my time with the game was how closely it resembles God of War, between both its combat and overall structure. I get the sense that's very intentional. In that way, it finds a niche for itself as this blend between the cinematic grandeur of God of War and the RPG systems that BioWare is known for, while distancing itself from the likes of Baldur's Gate 3, which was likely to be a comparison that cannot be ignored. As a result, the combat is actually pretty good. It takes the solid foundations of the action combat playbook and elegantly weaves in the team strategy elements of BioWare's previous games. Combined with decent itemization and distinctly flashy character classes, there's some compelling gameplay and...
I think the biggest off-put for me, okay, is the visuals. To me, this does not look like Dragon Age in any way, shape, or form, right? Just the color popping, it does look like Fortnite-esque. You know what I mean? You could tell me this is Wayfinder, okay, and I would think it's Wayfinder more than Dragon Age. It just looks off. And sure, you know, I'm judging it based off the other Dragon Ages that came before it. It just looks weird. And I think that's the biggest turnoff for me. I think people think, look, it looks good. It's just not Dragon Age, right? Visually, it looks good, but it's just not Dragon Age.
Buildcraft going on here that appears to find the right balance of servicing both seasoned RPG players and newcomers alike. My reservations about the facial capture looking outdated were also mostly quelled, and despite having such short time with the game, I found myself already rather invested in this cast of characters. I think the cleaner art style that BioWare have gone here will likely still be a point of contention, but
Yeah. I'm going to listen to him more, but yeah, that's it. I think the cleaner look of it is part of it.
There's someone who's more partial to that stylized aesthetic and isn't really attached to the previous Dragon Age games. I really came around to how this looks. Matter of fact, I found this to be a pretty stunning game overall. For fans of classic Dragon...
And I find that fine. Like, it looks good. It just doesn't look like Dragon Age. I'm not really play the Dragon Age games. I have no attachment to them. I will allow them me to give this game a try. What else did you guys say? 30 each styles of the colors have changed between each game. Yeah, but it's not even the colors. It's the animations. It's everything about it. It's completely different. It just doesn't look like the rest. It's like if an Assassin's Creed game, like they still kept the same type of style. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, if you got a new Assassin's Creed game and it was more vibrant colored, Fortnite-esque type of thing, you would be like, wait a minute, this is not Assassin's Creed.
Dragon Age, that shift in the gameplay and art direction might feel jarring, and it's understandable to be skeptical about mass-market AAA games these days, especially so for BioWare, whose latest outings were less than stellar. However, as someone eager for a new entry point into the franchise, I appreciated the bold decisions made here and left hopeful that this studio's return to the spotlight is set to be a spectacular affair.
Like, this is a continuation, right? It's a continuation of the last game?
I want to talk to Ra!
The ritual must be weakening the Veil. There are a lot of scared people out here.
And a lot of demons. Haven't seen this many come through the Fade in years.
My hands-on preview began with character creation. Now, I know many were dying to see how that looks, so I spent a good deal of time with it, and I'm pleased to say that it's a very robust character creator. You can pick from one of 4 races as usual: elf, dwarf, human, or kunari. There's a ton of sliders for granular control over every detail, going as deep...
I want to make it clear, I think it looks good. I do. I think it looks fine, right? I think it visually... It looks great. Like, if you told me this was a completely different game of Dragon Age and it was just called Veilguard, it wasn't Dragon Age Veilguard, it was just called Veilguard, I'd be like, man, this game looks good. But in my head, it doesn't look like Dragon Age. And this is why I think it's off-putting to me. But at the same time, I can look at it and say, it does look good.
As things like cataracts in the eyes to the melanin in your skin. It's got everything you could hope for, really, including face paint, tattoos, loads of hairstyles and beards that look incredible, by the way. And look, unfortunately, I don't think the Kunari are going to be dodging the Megamind comparisons anytime soon. Try as I might to make a gruff, battle-worn brute, he would always come out looking like handsome Squidward with horns. This is mostly a result of the art style.
Oh, was there? Was there, Chris? I didn't even see that. I was just looking at the visual stuff.
Seen this many come through the Fade in years.
My hands-on preview began with character creation. Now, I know many were dying to see how that looks, so I spent a good deal of time with it, and I'm pleased to say that it's a very robust character creator. You can pick from one of 4 races as usual: elf, dwarf, human, or kunari. There's a ton of sliders for granular control over every detail, going as deep as things like cataracts in the eyes to the melanin in your skin. It's got everything you could hope for, really, including face paint, tattoos, loads of hairstyles and beards that look incredible, by the way. And look,
gotta love my beards.
Unfortunately, I don't think the Kunari are going to be dodging the Megamind comparisons anytime soon. Try as I might to make a gruff,
right, Argus? That's
brute,
what I'm saying.
He would always come out looking like handsome Squidward with horns. This is mostly a result of the art style, as characters in general look quite polished and clean, but that's a point I'll come back to later. You'll then pick your base class and character background, both of which have an impact on dialogue, as you'll see in a moment. I was then thrown into the prologue, which was the same mission that we saw from the initial gameplay reveal. Solus is tearing open the veil, inadvertently letting demons spill through, and we need to stop him. It continues the story of Inquisition, but fret not if you haven't.
So it does go on from Inquisition.
finished Inquisition or you're new to the franchise, because a handy recap from Varric combined with a feature I'm not allowed to talk about did a pretty effective job at getting me up to speed as someone who also hasn't finished Inquisition. When it comes to the narrative, there isn't much I'm allowed to talk about, and I don't want to spoil anything since story is one of the main draws of BioWare's games. All I'll say is that while all this is early on, I still found all the beats I played through genuinely compelling, especially with regards to our relationship with Solus. It seems we'll be getting to know him rather intimately throughout this story. Just how intimately exactly? I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's in this first mission that I quickly got a sense of just how much my choices have an impact. In this opening tavern scene, I was able to either talk my way out or approach aggressively, resulting in two completely different cutscenes.
It's not a demand, it's an offer. Telling me what I need to know is the smart play here.
Well, that's good. That's what BioWare's known for.
The background I picked was the Shadow Dragons, and multiple times throughout this level, that background was referenced by both ambient and main characters.
Nev, meet Rook. Both of you have done some work for the Shadow Dragons.
Isn't that a coincidence?
Some old friend said if I was working in Tevinter, the Shadow Dragons are worth trusting.
There was one pivotal moment, though.
I like that. I like that. It gets you more immersed in the world.
Where a choice I made that I thought would bring me closer to Nev, the companion I wanted to romance, resulted in her getting injured. So in the following chapter, not only did she appear bloodied and bruised, and I feared for our long-term prospects together, but this meant that she couldn't join me on the next mission. Eventually, we'd go on to meet a new companion who'd fill her place, but straight away, I can see how decisions like this can impact things on the gameplay front, since I'd be absent her abilities that might synergize with mine, or those of the other companions. There was one particularly huge decision that I'm not allowed to show or talk specifics about, but all I'll say is that it resulted in a completely different boss fight and had significant implications on both a gameplay and narrative level. This stuff isn't as frequent as, say, Baldur's Gate, where almost every exchange, no matter how minute, have choices with meaningful outcomes. But at the very least, it is at the level you've come to expect from BioWare's games. Notably, companions don't just have a linear approval system, they seem to take notes about your personality as well, based on your dialogue choices. Okay. And I'm really curious to see how this changes interactions in the long term. The companions were really one of the standout parts of this preview session. Many had a pretty adverse reaction to them in the announcement trailer, and yeah, I mean, look, the Borderlands-y introductions probably wasn't the best choice, but having now spent some time with them, I really dig this team that BioWare have put together. Lucanus, for example, will be a favorite among many, I suspect. Tormented by a literal demon that lives within him, he knows
those guys are straight up Emperor's Guard.
Favorite among many, I suspect. Tormented by a literal demon.
Look at that. They're straight up from Star Wars. Those hoodies.
Demon that lives within him. He knows his value in battle, but is equally cautious of that power bringing harm to others. He's the latest I can fix him character, as it were, sprinkled with some Antonio Banderas-like suave.
Hey, look, they're all good looking. That's a bonus.
I don't like leaving you alone with the demon.
You don't have to worry about me.
Lucanus.
Please.
It looks like Keanu Reeves.
Nev was also interesting, with a cold and calculated nature that contrasts nicely against Balara, who's at all times upbeat and optimistic, perhaps overly so.
But he could just take you over, make you do what he wants.
It's, not great, but kind of good news, in a way.
There's a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy found family vibe to the group, and I recognize not everyone's gonna click with that, but I was really into their dynamic by the end of my preview. Some of my favorite moments were just when everyone was sitting around a table or in front of a fire, debriefing on events and bouncing off one another.
But he's not a normal mage, like I told you. He's an elven god.
Putting together a nice ritual doesn't make him a god.
Between their backgrounds and personalities, each of these companions have such strong identities, and for that reason I found myself already quite invested in them despite the short time I've spent. Their voice performances fall a tad flat sometimes, and the writing, while mostly good, lacks a little bite in that everyone's a little too polite, but I'll reserve judgment on that stuff until I experience the full story. What's sure to get a mixed reception, and already has, is the general art style that BioWare have gone with here.
Right.
I'll say up front, personally, I think Dragon Age The Veilguard is a very good-looking game. I wouldn't say it's pushing the boundaries of AAA visuals, but it's not far off.
Good.
Environments especially look fantastic. From the magic-fueled city of Minrathous to the Venetian streets of Treviso, all packed with detail and gorgeously lit. This section that took place in an underwater keep was a real highlight, real Atlantis vibes. I mean, you can see I was just constantly stopping to take in the sights. Each location has such distinct atmosphere. I mean, after 6 hours playing bits and pieces of the first act, it had already felt like I'd gone on some crazy globe-trotting adventure just by virtue of how visually diverse these locations are. It's got this sort of painterly look to it though, heavy on the bloom and post-processing, which I didn't mind overall, but it does result in characters looking a little airbrushed, and that's all on top of the character designs lacking any significant scars or blemishes. Everyone just looks very polished, very clean, and it's quite noticeable given how frequently close-ups occur during dialogue. I can't deny that smoothness of it all gives this sort of PG-13 look to the game, and that kind of strangely clashes with the darker...
I think that's what it is. It doesn't look grimy. You know what I mean? It doesn't look lived in. Right? So earlier, they make the areas look populated and stuff they showed you. But look at the difference between this and what we saw for Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert, everyone that they showed looked like they were living in the world. Here, it looks like a pristine, like everyone's proper and everything looks super clean and perfect. I think that's what maybe throwing me off.
Bloodier scenes. If you were someone who was hoping for a more grounded visual style akin to the older Dragon Age games, this might end up being a pain point for you that can't be easily ignored. The game's also copped a bit of flack for the lip sync and facial animation too, and yeah, I mean, it's not the best, but I think the sheer fidelity of these models, along with their distinctive designs, combined with a great use of lighting, did a lot to mask those problems. A Star Wars Outlaws situation, this is not. By the end of my session, none of these things bothered me, and to be honest, after Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring, and Dragon's Dogma, I personally found this more stylized, ultra-high fantasy look quite refreshing.
Okay.
So, the game is visually impressive overall, the characters and story are intriguing so far, and your decisions have lasting impacts. That's all cool, but also more or less what I expected going into a BioWare game. Now let's talk about the stuff that was a little unexpected, the things that genuinely surprised me during this preview, that being the combat and overall game structure.
Oh, good, because the combat they showed in the preview, like earlier preview, they showed one attack the entire time. I thought that was really poorly chosen. They should have chosen something else where at least that same, 4 different attacks, something to show you a different variety. And I think they failed on that when they first showed this game.
I played a decent amount of Dragon Age Inquisition in the lead up to this preview, and I was reminded of just how MMO-esque it was. It was basically a single-player MMO. The combat was tactical but slow, laying on the auto attacks, popping extra abilities every now and then for utility or damage. The structure of the game was also MMO-y. The main quest would guide you to quest hub areas, you'd pick up a few, and were pretty much forced to do them for both the XP and these token things that would let you unlock the next main mission. These side quests were more often than not pretty menial tasks, and as such, these sections of the game felt like needless padding. I can appreciate what BioWare were going for here, and it's still a good game, but I can also see why many bounced off it all those years ago, myself included.
You just gotta play the higher tier, though, I think.
Both the combat and structure are entirely different in Dragon Age The Veilguard. In fact, the closest comparison I can think of is the new God of War games, and that's a comparison I really couldn't shake, for better or worse. In terms of structure, the campaign will shuttle you through semi-linear levels that contain a number of branching thoroughfares to loop back to, many of those extra pockets opening up via side quests, campaign progression, or hidden keys. To initially get to each of those levels, you run through the Crossroads, a world tree style place that exists outside of time and space, though this doesn't just mask a loading screen, it also contains unlockable areas and treasures to find. Each level is divided by small combat arenas. There are brief puzzles and combat challenges that'll reveal chests containing gear that can be upgraded at a special vendor, yada yada. All the standard RPG stuff, but you can see where I might draw that God of War comparison. During my interview with the game director, I asked if Inquisition's side quest padding would return here, and thankfully, no. They're entirely optional, but do serve to bolster the main story and characters. I imagine in much the same way that Ragnarok's side quests did.
Just all their outfits look super clean. I think that's what it is. There's no like marks or anything. They just look perfect.
I couldn't do enough of them to really comment on their quality, but I did get to do Lucanus's companion mission, which I can't show. It took me to all new locations within Treviso's underbelly, had a couple neat encounters and mini-bosses, all leading up to a cool final boss. Where the God of War
It's like you live in a world of dirt and grime, and like you're fighting, and you're all this like dust and dirt would be there, and your outfit's like super clean, like it went to the dry cleaners.
Influence is felt far more keenly, though, is in the combat. A lot of the abilities that would have lived on your action bar in previous Dragon Age games are now either baseline or activated via combos. Every class can block, dodge, has a basic light, heavy, and jump attack, even a ranged attack. For example, as a dual-wielding rogue, I can still access my bow for ranged attacks by simply holding the left trigger. Likewise, the warrior has a Captain America-style shield throw, no matter what weapon you've got equipped. Instead of armor being stripped by different elements like they are in God of War, here they're depleted through either light, heavy, or ranged attacks. There are these gems you can equip for an extra instant activatable ability, similar to the talismans from God of War. There's a healing potion you can recharge by smashing objects. There's an execution after filling an enemy's stun meter. So yeah, I mean, while it obviously lacks God of War's impact and air juggling, it's easy to recognize that influence here, right down to the impact frames and cinematic slowdown of time when activating an ability. This is quite a departure from the real-time with pause combat of the other Dragon Age games, so just
I think I'm with you, Water. I don't know if I would pay full price for this. I think I would pick this up on a sale or maybe play it on EA Play if it's on there day one. I don't know if I would play it. I need to see more.
Not going to be to everyone's taste, but it is a strong combat framework, and if you're into action combat like I am, you'll be well served here. It does feature things that seasoned fans will appreciate though. Things like the ability to hot swap between two weapons, and the return of healing magic, so you aren't totally reliant on potions. Crucially, I think the way the companions have been woven in here quite neatly combines the team-based strategy of the previous games with this new action-driven model. You probably know by now that you cannot swap to your companions. That change was met with criticism by fans, and you know, I totally get that. I personally though like the immersion that comes from being locked to my own character's perspective, and in that sense I do prefer the compromise that's been made here. At any moment during combat, you can pause time to bring up this radial menu, allowing you to target specific enemies with you and your companion's abilities, as well as see their elemental resistances and weaknesses. You'll actually be using this a lot, mostly because of a combo system brought from an unexpected place: Anthem. Now, fun fact, I have spent more hours in Anthem than I have any other BioWare game. Take that as you will. Yes, I agree, that game sucked on many levels, but one of the only things that game did well was this satisfying primer and detonator mechanic that was the crux of this combat loop.
Sound.
You'd maximize using abilities that would prime a target with an effect, and other abilities from yourself or from teammates would detonate those for huge damage, emphasized by a deeply cathartic sound effect. To my delight, that has basically been dragged and dropped into Dragon Age the Veilguard, and to be honest, it fits like a glove. Abilities can either prime or detonate an effect on top of their usual functionality, and in that pause menu, you're able to...
I did like that mechanic in Anthem. in Anthem.
Select two complementing abilities to fire off at the same time, causing those eruptions of damage. This was kinda present in Inquisition, but it's far more prevalent and intuitive here because there's fewer abilities for you to juggle, and those synergies are very clearly telegraphed by the game. Like, it'll literally just highlight for you the abilities that'll work together. So combat becomes this exciting dance of real-time action, dodging unblockables, maximizing stuns for executions, while momentarily pausing.
Right, Slow? The only bright side of Anthem.
to nuke high-threat targets with abilities.
Yeah, this is Dragon Age.
All of this is
the
topped
Veilguard.
up by some great build craft too. My favorite part about it has got to be the class design. You'll pick one of 3 classes, the Rogue, the Mage, or the Warrior, with 3 specializations for each that you'll unlock through this skill tree. You can equip a maximum of 3 abilities that can be swapped at any time, alongside an ultimate for each spec. Likewise, you can respec at any time for free, but you cannot change your base class. Guess I'll be doing multiple playthroughs because, damn, like all 3 classes are seriously tantalizing. For example, I love the Archer or Rogue fantasy, but I'm often disappointed by their actual implementation in games. They tend to be the most mundane to play, both in terms of their gameplay and visual flair. But here, the Rogue is sick as hell, in one spec utilizing all manner of Legolas-style flips while firing volleys of magic-infused arrows, but in another spec becoming a sort of crafty tinkerer, complete with turrets and bombs. I thought the Warrior might be a bit basic then, felt that way in Inquisition, but trying it after the Rogue, nope, they haven't been overlooked either, with an edgy Death Knight playstyle in one tree, and in another summoning all manner of...
Look at that skill tree. A lot. Look at it.
Spirit weapons to tear through enemies. A shout out to this dropkick move, by the way, that sends enemies flying into the stratosphere. I mean, I never, literally never, play the mage or wizard archetype in games, just not into the slow caster playstyle. Here, though, I was able to spec into the Spellblade tree that's a...
This is what I'm talking about. He's showing a whole bunch of different combat and different type of moves that you do. When they showed that first trailer, you were doing the exact same move over and over and over. And it was like a 15-minute long video.
Frantic dance between both melee and ranged spells. Doing so gave me a few lightning skills, but then I found a node in the tree that buffed fire spells after using a lightning spell, and vice versa. So then I put some points into the fire side of the skill tree, combining this with companions who could detonate my priming abilities. I very easily concocted a build that absolutely blasted through the final mission in my preview. Every class is just cool, man. Like, they really are. And the build craft that accompanies them is both meaningful and intuitive. You aren't dealing with a minuscule 2% here, a 5% there. Every bonus falls between 10 and 100%, so it felt like every point mattered. This extends to the itemization too. Each piece of gear has a few key bonuses, including a special build-defining perk that gets unlocked through various means, like wearing a certain armor weight, or even having high reputation with a faction. The way those perks are forecasted means that even if a piece of gear doesn't fit into your build yet, you're still able to see how you might build around it down the road. It all really, really comes together and cleverly interlinks. I don't want to oversell the combat. I mean, it still feels a little stiff, particularly the dodge. The abilities are awesome, but do lead to crazy visual overload. And not being able to play as the companions does mean that if you're bored of playing a warrior, your only option is to start over. It remains to be seen if what's there is enough to sustain a full playthrough, especially given how chunky this game might be. But with such solid fundamentals, fun classes, and flexible buildcraft, I'm confident it will be enough. And I'm not alone in that opinion either. I mean, everyone I spoke to after the preview also left pleasantly surprised with the combat. Overall, it's a great mix of individual agency and team camaraderie that quite well complements the themes of...
You know what this reminds me of the combat? When Hogwarts Legacy came out, and we were talking about how Hogwarts Legacy, it looked good, right? But we were concerned about how it would feel. That's the way I'm looking at this right now, right? I'm looking at this game, and I'm kind of thinking the same along the lines of, well, how's it going to feel? Now, he says it feels good, but it also feels a little clunky at times, right? That's the way I look at this, and I'm like, all right, is now, Hogwarts, when it came out, all my concerns were gone as soon as I started playing it. I was like, oh, man, the combat feels really good. Maybe looking at it, it doesn't look that way, but maybe when you start playing it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, this clicks.
Companionship present throughout Dragon Age Veilguard, including its name.
People are dying right now. You need to listen.
All in all, I came away from Dragon Age the Veilguard rather surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I had several concerns with what I'd seen so far, especially so given it...
You just throw that shield like Captain America?
tumultuous development. I mean, it's changed hands a number of times. Lots of senior talent have left the studio. There were rumors of it being a live service game at one point. And yeah, I expected to see traces of that stuff dragging down the final product. But no, as I said,
That's
every
good to hear.
part of this has somehow come together. The dynamic combat is fun,
Everything he just said there is good, because I've been leading up to this because of Anthem and talking about how when this game had problems, it's been delayed multiple times. They reworked it a couple times. They've lost staff. So he's saying it looks like it's coming together really nicely. So we'll see.
Buildcraft and customization is great.
2 months away.
The companions were easy to connect with, and the visuals had me quite keen to immerse myself in this world. I think BioWare have done a good job here at updating the Dragon Age IP while retaining the elements that make their games so memorable. Also worth noting that everything I played here was just snippets from Act 1 of the game, of which there is a total of 3 acts. The conclusion of Act 1 already felt like the end of a lot of other big action games. I mean, it's left a great first impression, to say the least, and if the rest of the game manages to maintain this level of quality, I think we're in for a hell of a ride.
So he beat Act 1 in 6 hours? So we're talking, what, maybe 20 hours? 15, 20 hours?
There's a clear vision for Dragon Age the Veilguard that BioWare seem to have delivered on so far, but whether or not that vision clicks with you is another matter. I think some people will still approach this with trepidation, and that's fair enough. Its departure from the franchise's roots, that of a grittier, more strategic fantasy RPG, may make it a more challenging fit for those who cherish the Dragon Age days of old. Nonetheless, the game's overhauled systems and grand presentation does create an inviting experience for people like me who struggled to get into the previous games, and for fans willing to embrace this evolution. BioWare have got a lot to prove with this one, and I guess we'll find out once again whether they'll sink or swim when Dragon Age the Veilguard releases on October 31st.
Oh, October? I thought it was November. They move it up a week? I sworn it was like November 6th for some reason.
If you're thinking about picking up Dragon Age...
All right, so that's it for that. Let me add him to... Let me add it to our description. We watched IGN, and then we also watched Skill Up. Hilly says, I'm not interested in this one. Sorry, BioWare. I'm just, from the past, Hilly, I can't do it. I can't do it as, like, I can't give them in and go, oh yeah, it looks awesome. I am so reserved on BioWare from what they've done. And I liked Mass Effect Andromeda. Didn't love it, but I liked it. There was a lot of good parts about it. I liked Anthem. Didn't love it. So it's a hard pass for me in the beginning. They have to prove to me that this game's going to come out and it's not going to be broke, buggy, unfinished, different problems. So I get it's a single player game. Skill Up saying that with all the problems it had, it looks like somehow it came together. I'm still on the fence of somehow, because I can't imagine that it's in perfect shape. So I'm more reserved. I'm gonna wait for it. I'm not getting it day one. I'm probably not even gonna get it like month 1, 3 months, unless it comes out and people start playing it and then they're like, dude, it's an amazing game. You got to pick it up. Then and only then we'll be like, okay, right? But I'm not falling for it again. Right. Did you forget the BioWare magic? Right. Yeah, I've said the entire time, Water. I said stay away from Skull and Bones, and I said stay away from Dragon Age, which was what was it originally called? Wolf something, right? But now it's the Veilguard. Like, there's just something about it, man. I don't trust it. I always go with my gut, and my gut's telling me something's off still. It looks visually nice, but it also at the same time, just like he said, some people might not like it. That's me. I'm more reserved when it comes to that's not the Dragon Age that I liked. So. BB says, I'll think I'll go over New World over this. Dustin says, I'm getting it day one. Make a game, sell a game. Dustin, you get every game. It waters it down. You literally are a fan of every game. It loses meaning when you say, well, you're getting it day one. Dreadwolf, thank you. That's what it was. Right, Jason. Right? The Origins is like dark, gritty. You're saying this looks all bright and colorful. Easy pass for me. Yeah, it's just something's off-putting about it for me. And I don't know if it's that, if it's the clean looking of it. Cryptic says, why are 70% of the games these days going soft and removing the grit? Anyone else feel this way? Or are you hardly seeing the decomposing corpses or entrails of games these days? I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a rule that passed that we can't show these things anymore to kids or something. I don't know. All I know is the people that worked at BioWare before are not there now. Okay, now this could be a good thing or a bad thing, but the games that they've come out with haven't hit the mark. This could be strike 3, or this could be a start of a new era. Okay, and I'm not willing to put my money into gambling that this is a new era, so I'll just wait. Nothing hurts if I wait, right? I'm telling you, if you name the game and it wasn't Dragon Age, it was a brand new title, I think it would have a different appeal. I think what's happening right now with... Here, let me see if I can bring it up, right? Obviously, time over time. Let's see. Just bring it up. No, I don't want... What year did Dragon Age come out? See, I hate this. I type in Dragon Age. I'm not asking for Dragon Age the Veilguard. And Google says, well, it's this. 2014? Is that what the... ...2009. 2009.
It's been 15 years since Dragon Age Origins took the...
Like, don't look at the graphics, right? Don't look at the graphics. Just look at the way the game like feels, right? Now, obviously, the graphics are going to be downgraded because it is what it is. Okay. It just looks more dark, gritty. Right? The tones are more muted. Right? Obviously, the combat now, when you compare old games to new games, all that stuff's going to change. But you just look at what it is. Right? So there's that. Let me bring up the next one. Again, this is Dragon Age 2. Right? Again, don't look at the graphics. Just look at the tone of what it is. Very muted. Very dark and gritty. Okay? If I can get some combat here. Still has a technically have a clean look, right? The walls don't look grummy and stuff like that, but still the... All right, and then you have what? Dragon Age Inquisition. I guess it's a little bit more vibrant. Let me go inside. Do they have an inside shot? Yeah, it just looks... Still, it looks more dark. It just feels different. And then now you look at it now, it's like, boom, like pop. I don't know. The new Veilguard just, to me, pulls out of this, and you could have made it a separate game. Maybe like a reboot or something. I don't know. He says, I should also be honest. This is why I'm passing on this. I have Dragon Age Origins Ultimate Edition in my Steam library, which also I've never played. Seems silly to buy the new one. That's true. Well, you might like... I love Dragon Age 1 and 2. Inquisition I didn't like so much. And then this one's more off-putting to me because of the visuals. Even though it looks good. It just doesn't feel it. We're just talking about the Veilguard's trailer just came out, or embargo lifted, Sarge. So we're talking about what Veilguard looks like compared to Dragon Age, and Veilguard looks good, like visually it looks good, but it just doesn't look like Dragon Age. Krabsy says said this, but it's been 10 years since BioWare has had a hit, and in those 10 years they've also released 2 failures: Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. This will be a kill shot. That's what I'm saying. That like 3 strikes are out, right? Like they need this to be good. They need this to be good. But to win me over, to win me back as a fan of BioWare, I'm not buying it day one, right? If it comes out and it's good, then great, then I'll pick it up. But you're not getting my money. One, I don't pre-order, but you're not getting my money day one unless this game is like almost flawless. And there's no issues, no problems. Waterbear says they should have went gritty, Baldur's Gate 3 style. This is updated. This is the combat system, at least. Right, the combat obviously is an upgrade from the past games, right? And if the storytelling's good, fantastic. I love my storytelling and stuff. And visually, it does look good, but it just doesn't look like Dragon Age to me. And I'm a little weary because of all the problems they had behind the scenes. And word is that they changed it a couple times, and it was supposed to be a live service game. And then he said he didn't see the leftovers of a live service game or any kind of, clues that were left over in the game, which is good because we played games like that. They're like, oh, there was a microtransaction system in this, and they pulled it or whatnot. So, like a Gotham Knights type of thing. Craig says, DAO on PC, Dragon Age Origin on PC suffers from one memory leak issue. But if you take the time to fix it, it's worth it on PC. The 360 plays different, so I don't expect to come. Then you have Baldur's Gate 2, 3.5. Baldur's Gate 3, or Baldur's Gate, the original, 3.5. Okay, Anthem, 5 mil. Okay, that needed to sell like 7 mil, I think. Mass Effect Andromeda, 5 mil. Okay. Mass Effect 2, 5 mil. So there you go. Think about that for a second. Andromeda sold the exact same amount as Mass Effect 2. Okay, Mass Effect 2, in my opinion, is one of the greatest games ever created. Okay. Dragon Age Inquisition sold 6 million. And Mass Effect 3 sold 7 million. So, Mass Effect or Andromeda, by the state of everyone loves Mass Effect 2, this one sold just as much as Mass Effect 2. I would say, no, it's not a failure. But who knows what they wanted to sell, right? Maybe they wanted to sell 7 million because Inquisition sold that many. Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, I think people blew it out of proportion about the Mass Effect Andromeda face. Everybody was mad about this face. Where is it? Which they fixed pretty good, right? But it was this face right here that broke the internet. Right? This is what they broke. This one NPC broke the internet back then. Now, hindsight's 2020, right? What's happening with the way they looked at like Kay Vess's face is completely different. This face did so many different things. Like, look at this. There's so many pictures of comparison of what it is to what it was. This was the face. This is the face that broke the internet. Right? And they fixed it pretty fast afterwards. Our character that we made, we had chat make my character when we did it live. I don't know if I would have to turn it back on and see if it's still saved. She's fucking smoking hot. Like, my chat did complete opposite. I thought they were gonna make the ugliest like protagonist ever. Nope, they made her fucking smoking. I don't even know. Maybe we still have it on Twitch. Let me see. Was this in Power Review? Sure. No thanks. Let me see if I have the Andromeda. What year did it come out? It came out like 2017? I don't know if I still have the play up on my we got Friday the 13th up there. I don't think we have Andromeda still. No. Nope. Man, I've done the daily grind for so many years. Jesus. This is going all the way back on. Four years ago. It's 5 years ago. Oh, I might actually have it. Hold on. Because I think they clipped it. What's this one? No, you don't see her. See the back of her head, but you don't see her. Nope. Yeah, 7 years. I'm looking at some of my clips from 8 years, from 9 years ago. That's crazy. Here's my son. This is how long I've been streaming for. This is when he was like 2.
Hi, everybody. Say hi. Yeah. Yeah, he loves seeing himself on camera. So he's here for only a 4.
Look how young I am. Holy shit. Dear Lord.
4 minutes, and then he's got to get ready for bed. Can you say hi to everybody? Yeah. So good. All right. Let's sit down so Dad can...
Oh my God. Well, it's funny. One of the delivery guys, Waterbear, one of the Amazon guys, My son was interested because they drive the Rivian trucks. And he was asking questions about it. And the guy goes, I don't really like electric cars. He's like, I like old school cars. He's like, I have a 95 Mustang. I was like, that's not old. And he just looked at me and said, well, it's old for me. I was like, okay. Eclipse says, yeah, gamers really want an ugly girl character. The fact that your random chat made a hot character together shows you different. I wish I could show you. Maybe I'll turn it on. Maybe if I download it, maybe you can see the character if it's a save file. Right? Like, it was crazy. I'll take a screenshot. I'll turn it on after stream. I'll take a screenshot. If I still have it. Dolphin says, I saw a 2000-ish Mustang with the collector's plate. I think it looked awful. I just find that funny. They're like, yeah, the classics. Classic 95 Mustang. Like, what are you talking about? I can't think... I can't even fathom that my 1997 Dodge Dakota sport truck would be a classic car nowadays. Kudabapa says 30. If she isn't 36, 24, 36, blonde, blue eyes, and all that, what is she? They made her like a Spanish looking girl, okay? And she was smoking hot. I shit you not. I was like, God damn, chat. I was like, you guys made a really good looking character. I thought for sure they were gonna go completely the opposite direction. Just put it in perspective. When we started playing Marvel's Avengers, that's 4 years ago, and that was over on Twitch. Some of you started watching me over on Twitch. I did die in a cutscene, though. We were in a cutscene and we got killed. Yeah, Marvel's Avengers had so much potential. Oh, well. Oh, well. Facts. Facts, Akuta Papa. Got nothing. All right, it's almost 1. Where is my... There. No, that's not what I asked for. I watch you on Twitch sometimes, but never follow you. Not because I like Lono better. Understandable. Gather around the fire, kids. Old Water Bear is going to tell you a tale of woe about the group called Avengers.